people say that the area where they live is no longer affordable for average families. That's up from 45% in a Marist poll in June. That's a huge increase. 61% say the economy is not working well for them personally. More people say their financial situation has gotten worse than better in the past year. And a majority of people think the country is already in a recession.
NPR's Domenico Montanaro reporting. The poll also finds that only 36% of respondents approve of President Trump's handling of the U.S. economy. The full House is expected to vote today on a Republican-backed proposal to address health care costs. The plan, by Speaker Mike Johnson, does not extend the subsidies that millions of Americans use to help offset the cost of insurance plans under the Affordable Care Act. Without any change, costs will soar on January 1st. A small group of House Republicans has now signed onto a petition with the Democrats. It will force a vote on extending the subsidies, but it won't affect a vote on the Speaker's proposal. The U.S. is trying to push to the next stage of the ceasefire in Gaza. But as NPR's Daniel Estrin reports from Tel Aviv, many of the plans for Gaza could take months to implement.
The U.S. is aiming to have an international stabilization force in Gaza by early next year, but countries have not yet publicly committed troops, and there are still disagreements on where they'd patrol and what they do. U.S. State Department documents obtained by NPR show that the Trump administration wants international troops to support the disarmament of Hamas. But many countries that are considering sending troops don't want them to confront Hamas over its weapons. The U.S. wants the International Stabilization Force to incorporate new Palestinian police officers as they're trained. The European Union plans to train them. A European official speaking on condition of anonymity told NPR most Palestinian police would likely begin training by April at the earliest. Daniel Estrin, NPR News, Tel Aviv.
The son of Hollywood director Rob Reiner and his wife Michelle is charged with killing his parents. Nick Reiner is being held without bail pending his first formal court appearance. Steve Futterman reports from Los Angeles.
Nick Reiner, now an accused killer, is scheduled to be arraigned. Yesterday, the appearance was delayed because Reiner had not received a medical clearance. The arraignment is likely to be brief. Reiner will be formally told of the charges. It's not entirely clear if he will enter a plea. The murder charges carry a maximum sentence of death. The district attorney says he has not decided if he will seek that. For NPR News, I'm Steve Futterman in Los Angeles.
You're listening to NPR.
Okay, 1-888-897-9424, gbhnews.org. That is the number that you can help us contribute to this pledge drive. Am I doing it at the wrong time?
No, you're doing it perfectly, but
Okay.
I've never heard anyone put a 1 before 888. But that was good.
Okay.
That was fine.
Jim started chuckling at me. I thought I'd made a mistake
was
here, but
chuckling.
apparently
That's correct.
I haven't really made a mistake. Not yet, anyway.
No, you haven't made a mistake.
As you may have learned, we've lost our funding. We've lost our federal funding. The Trump administration has taken away our funding, and so we are ever more dependent on the support and generosity of people that are listening to us and people that like what they hear on the radio here and what they see on television to support the efforts that we do here. Every dollar makes a huge difference. We have a special treat today. We have a virtual wine tasting, which would be really fun, February 26th at 8 p.m. with Rick Steves. He's a very uplifting guy to talk to you. The deal is you get 6 small bottles of wine at home. It's enough for 2 people. They come to your door so you can sit in the privacy of your home, zoom in with Rick Steves, drink the wine, hear all about it, plus have a wonderful time listening to Rick Steves talk about his trips to Europe. That's for $150 to support GBH and secure your ticket. 888-897-9424, gbhnews.org.
You know, it's a fabulous thank you gift, but as I always say, you shouldn't really need a thank you gift. Yesterday, you had an hour with the mayor of Boston. You could call and ask her questions. Next Tuesday, the governor is with us for an hour. The United Nations High Commissioner for Human Rights is going to join us in about 30 seconds. My hope is you feel you get a lot out of what we do here. We sure as hell get a lot out of it. And if you subscribe to that notion, here's your opportunity to make a contribution. Try to fill part of the hole that Trump created. 888-897-9424, gbhnews.org. Just one day, we hope you'll make that call.
He's Jim Browdy. I am Marjorie Egan. You're listening to BPR and GBH and NEPM. We are broadcasting live from the Boston Public Library. and streaming. Thank you at youtube.com/GBH News. We're going to be joined by the governor 2 days before Christmas, December 23rd. She'll be here between 11 and noon at the Boston Public Library studio. Good morning, Jim.
Hey there, Marjorie. How are you?
Fine, thank you.
We're joined now on Zoom by Volker Türk, United Nations High Commissioner for Human Rights. We're speaking with him a week after Human Rights Day on December 10th, an annual global observance, which sadly is not celebrated everywhere, marking the adoption of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights in 1948, the document that has become the foundational text for modern international human rights law. High Commissioner Türk, we are grateful for your time. Welcome to the show. Thank you.
Thank you very much for having me. Good morning.
Yes,
And to you.
good morning to you and as well. So, in reading in preparation for speaking with you today, human rights have been described as underfunded, undermined, under attack all over the world in an unprecedented way. Tell us, expand on that. What is happening?
You know, it's very strange because we are in a very divided world. We are in a very polarized world. We are in a world where we see too many wars in too many countries. And the right thing to do is to actually make sure that human rights, which is the one thing that unites people, is actually coming out strong, which means political support, strategic support, funding support. But unfortunately, we are at a point where the system, the international human rights system, is in a survival mode. And that's the bad news. But the good news is that we have millions of people around the world who are motivated by it, who think that human rights is absolutely the right thing to do. So we really need to capture this. So there is this contradiction in the world today. We need more human rights than ever before, but we are weakened.
You know, Commissioner, by the way, it's rare that we have any good news on the show, so thank you for adding that. We'll return to that, particularly young people around the world, in a minute. I don't know if in your job you have the luxury of prioritizing crises, whether it's Ukraine, Gaza, Sudan, Rwanda, strikes in the Caribbean and Pacific. Can you prioritize what you face, or are you in a position where everything has to be a priority?
Look, when it comes, that's the radical idea of human rights. It's about everyone, everywhere. So we care about all the conflict situations around the world, and we have 60 countries that are currently in one way or another
60.
in a conflict situation. 60, the highest number ever since the end of the Second World War. But we also care about human rights in the industrialized world, when it comes to migrants and refugees, for example, when it comes to minorities, when it comes to LGBTIQ+ community, when it comes to people who face a housing shortage and cannot exercise their right to adequate housing, for example. So frankly, human rights doesn't prioritize, because human rights are so central to who we are and to our humanity and to the relationship that citizens have with the institutions of the state and that we have among ourselves and with the environment, that it is actually impossible to prioritize, because it is about the care for everyone.
Yeah, I'm so glad you mentioned so early on this wave of anti-migrant, anti-refugee sentiment around the world. How do you navigate diplomacy in places where nationalism is on the rise? What do you say to a leader who is convinced that immigrants are the root of all evil in their country, in their community? What do you say to them?
To remember that we have one thing in common, which is our shared humanity. I remember I lived in New York during COVID. I can tell you one thing. I thought every day of the migrant workers who brought us the food, who delivered the care that we needed, who actually cleaned the streets and made sure that all the garbage was getting rid of. And it was the migrant workers that saved our lives. And they risked their lives, because at the time, if you go back to the COVID period, no one knew what this virus would mean and how it would affect people. They were the ones at the front line making sure that we would all survive, especially in densely populated areas like New York City. So I think we sometimes forget what migration brings to us. And, you know, I, as a European, I've always looked to the US in particular and to Canada as the prime examples of what the force of migration has done in terms of good for the country, for its economy, for its sustainability, for the richness of the society, the diversity of the society. So I really think we need to learn the lessons from all of this and bring it back to a level of evidence-based and facts, and discuss the facts and not be just basically distracted by the emotions and by the fears and by the stoking of fears and the deceit and the deception that is very inherent in the current narrative that I hear about migration.
We have a president you can talk to in your spare time, by the way. We're talking to the United Nations High Commissioner of Human Rights.
You know, you mentioned before that we're in a very divisive world. We are, obviously. But I'm wondering, it seems as though there's this simultaneous pullback on rights for immigrants, refugees, migrants, and for human rights. So why? Is it because of political divides? Is it because of the UN, which sometimes does get criticized as being ineffective? Is it because of climate that so many people are migrating? Why is this happening now?
I think there is a tendency to use human rights as an ideology. And that's really historically absolutely wrong. It was Eleanor Roosevelt who led the Commission on Human Rights to develop the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, and she led it, sometimes even fighting her own State Department. It was Dulles who was the Secretary of State at the time, because he did not want to include economic, social, and cultural rights in the Declaration. They wanted only civil and political rights, but Eleanor Roosevelt was very firm, and she said, no, we have to make sure that it's the whole gamut of rights. So there is a lot of disinformation about human rights, because actually human rights connect us with our daily lives. It's about right to education, it's about right to healthcare, it's about right to adequate housing, it's about having a social protection floor. Again, we learned that from COVID. If countries did much better when they had a social protection floor that people could rely on. So human rights is really, in a way, something that is not ideological, but it has become an ideological ping pong. And that's very unfortunate, because it affects each and every life of people in the US, in Canada, all around the world. And it has this force for transformation. It has this force for social change that is so much needed. That's what the liberation movements of the past taught us. It was about feminism, it was about anti-slavery, it was anti-racism. These were all human rights movements. And I think that's so important to bring back, that this is about our lives, our daily lives.
You know, I wonder if there's any country that's doing it right in terms of taking in migrants or in terms of human rights. Is there some example we can look to, or is everybody in the same dismal boat?
I mean, it has become much more difficult all around the world, but I have to say, and I have worked for the UN Refugee Agency for almost 30 years, I was impressed by countries in the global south, some of the bigger host countries, had to take in often hundreds of thousands of refugees from conflict zones. And there was not a question about whether or not they could stay or not stay, they just hosted them. Yes, there was a lot of support from the international community, but at the end of the day, there is this fundamental connection that people have, including, by the way, in Europe. When in Europe suddenly you had all the Syrians flee to Europe and the Afghans, initially there was a real opening up of hearts and minds to accommodate them. Then politics got in the way, because then some of the parties, political parties, used it in order to use certain examples of lack of integration or of criminality in order to brandish the whole community. So it was guilt by association of one case.
When you said Global South, which countries were you thinking of in particular?
I mean, I'm thinking of countries in Africa, for example. I'm thinking of countries, we have now in Latin America, for example, you have over almost 8 million refugees, migrants from Venezuela, who are hosted in Latin America. And they flee very often deprivation, persecution, they flee a repression. And yes, so there are those who open up their homes, their hearts, and accommodate them.
Commissioner Türk, you mentioned the United States twice, along with Canada, as being a beacon on these issues throughout recent history, and obviously things have changed a bit. When the U.S. Steps away from its historical commitment, I mean, to give an example, when the administration here said to the State Department that annual human rights reports should no longer focus on things like torture, persecution of minority groups, politically motivated killings, but rather focus on abortion and gender transition surgery. Does that trickle out to the rest of the world, considering the power of the United States?
I mean, obviously, the United States has played an incredibly important role in the human rights framework, in the human rights movement. The absence of the United States on a number of fronts today is something that we see having a direct impact all around the world. And I really hope that the United States remembers its history, its strong history of supporting human rights, promoting human rights, standing up for democracy and for political rights and civil rights, standing up against the fight for torture. The US used to give us about $9 million a year for a special fund that we had established to support survivors of torture. Unfortunately, we don't get that funding anymore. But this was concrete help to survivors of torture and the associations that were helping them. That is lost. And yes, I regret that very much.
You mentioned funding, and I don't mean to get into the nitty-gritty, but obviously the UN and your piece of the action have funding problems. And by the way, it's not just the United States. Some of the Western European nations have pulled back as well. I guess two questions. One, how do you handle it? And two, how do you handle the hole being filled by places like Cuba and China saying, we've got a great way to deal with the shortfall, just stop human rights investigations, and then we won't have to worry about our funding problems. How do you deal with both?
No, I think the fact that a number of countries, including the US, but also other countries in Europe, for example, have no longer funded us at the level that we need it, means it's good news for the autocrats and the torturers and those who commit human rights violations. Just to give you one example, we have a preventative mechanism on prevention of torture. It's a subcommittee of experts that usually do about 10 country visits a year. And they work with countries so that you have in place a mechanism to prevent torture. Well, because of the lack of funding, we could only do 4 country visits, which means that the scrutiny that is important and the monitoring are incredibly weakened as a result. And that's just one example. The same goes for all the investigations that we have to do on human rights violations around the world. We had to scale down massively our support for 14 fact-finding missions and commissions of inquiry, which means by about half, by 50%, which means there will be less documentation, there will be less engagement with survivors and victims, there will be less accountability at the end of the day. And yes, that's, for me, of course, as High Commissioner, very bad news, because those who actually benefit from and continue committing horrible abuses get away with it. And we can't afford that.
We're talking with Volker Türk, United States High Commissioner for Human
UN
Rights.
High Commissioner.
UN, excuse me, UN, not the United
We
States.
could use a U.S.
UN
High Commissioner for Human Rights.
The United States obviously has shut down a USAID. What has been the impact of that?
I mean, for instance, USAID has been one of the main sponsors of human rights defenders around the world. I mean, and I have met with many organizations in different parts of the world, Central Asia and Africa, who have been supported in Latin America, who have been supported by the USAID because they are the grassroots supporters. They are the ones who hold companies to account when they see that there are mega projects being done. They work with survivors of torture. They are the ones who sound the alarm bells when they see violations. That these organizations either had to cut their funding entirely or they had to cease to exist. So it means that the eyes and ears out there when it comes to respect for human rights are much weaker. And again, this is This is tragic, quite apart from the huge humanitarian impact. I mean, it affects people on food security, for example, in conflict areas, because less funding goes into humanitarian assistance around the world, which means that lives will be lost. And yes, and humanitarian action that is so incredibly important today is going to be much less than what we need.
You know, Commissioner Türk, you started by mentioning some hopeful signs, young people organizing around the world, Nepal, Ecuador, Philippines. We had a woman you've worked with a lot, Maria Ressa, was with us a few months ago, obviously won the Nobel Peace Prize. Give us a minute of not only that activism, but activism that's produced pro-human rights results in one piece of the world, if you would.
I mean, I look back at the situation in Bangladesh last year. You had massive protests by students who were fed up with the corruption, with the inequalities, with the enforced disappearances that happened in the country, and who started to demonstrate and to protest. And then they actually collaborated a lot with the labor unions in the country, and it was a real clamoring for a change, for a fundamental change in direction. In the end, at the time, the Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina, she called in the police and she ordered the police to shoot at the protesters, which we documented afterwards. But at the same time, this protest movement led to a change and to a transitional government led by another Nobel Prize winner, Muhammad Yunus, who for the past for over a year now, has led a transitional government to build the society, to ensure accountability, and to also come up with a very different way of fighting corruption and working on economic policy. So actually it shows that a movement that was started on the basis of human rights can actually lead to change, despite the fact that 1,400 students lost their lives. And that's the tragic thing about it.
You're listening to BPR on GBH and NEPM.
You know, speaking of young people, the United Nations Human Rights Watchdog Group wrote letters criticizing universities, United States, Columbia, Cornell, Georgetown, a few of them, for using immigration status to hurt students that were protesting what was happening in Gaza. Elaborate on that a little bit.
Look, I think one of the big things that I have always admired about American universities, and frankly, universities in most parts of the free world, if you like, has been precisely to be a safe space for discussions and to be a safe space for expressing views. Of course, it has to be done in a respectful way, and it has to be done in a way that doesn't incite hatred or it doesn't, incite violence. But it is a place where you need, not least because there are fundamental academic freedoms at universities, where you can have an open and frank discussion, which means you agree to disagree on a number of things. And that's what universities are for. That's precisely the openness and the huge, I would say, benefit of universities, especially in the US, has been precisely that, to offer that space. So what we have seen of late, and frankly, this goes back now for quite a while, it's been worrying because if you reduce that space by using tools like immigration control because you are having an opinion that it disagrees with whatever is currently state policy, that these are practices that are fundamentally against the spirit of what I understand the American universities represent for the world. And also have served America well, because universities are some of the best universities around the world are in the US, and they have benefited precisely from that open, free, and safe space for students.
We're talking to High Commissioner for Human Rights, Volker Türk. I'm looking at you. I have no idea how you look as calm as you look in the face of what your functions are. Before you go, can you talk to Boston for a second? We had the lawyer for Rumeysa Öztürk on the show with us yesterday. You know about her being grabbed off the street, thinking she was being kidnapped in Somerville. She's a tough graduate student. On the other hand, we have a lot of activism here. On the other hand, we have the World Cup coming and possibly some nations' athletes not able to come in this country. How do real people on the ground, like, how do we meet this moment, Commissioner?
I think, there is a famous saying by an Italian philosopher, writer, Antonio Gramsci: the old has not yet died, the new is not yet born, and in between is a monster. But when you live the time of the monster, you know that something will come and it will be better. And we must never give up. And that's why human rights are such an inspirational force of transformation that actually helps us and is a moral and legal compass in very troubled times and uncertain times.
Well, let me tell you, you're a hell of an inspiration too, and I hope you make time in your schedule to visit us again in the future.
And
Thanks for your time
Thank
today.
you very much.
Thank you. All the very best.
We appreciate it.
We have been speaking with Volker Türk, United Nations High Commissioner for Human Rights, and we thank him very, very much for joining us. Coming up after this quick break, we're going to ask you about how you feel about some of the things we've just been talking about. We as a nation have turned our backs in many cases on human rights and humanitarian aid. How do you feel about that? I mean, you could say you'd rather have the money spent right here in the United States of America. On the other hand, we're going to tell you some statistics that shown the hundreds of thousands of deaths already from the United States backing out of its prior obligations toward human rights, humanitarian aid. I'm Marjorie Egan. He's Jim Browder. You're listening to BPR, GBH, and NEPM live from the Boston Public Library and streaming at youtube.com/GBH News.
I'm Jared Bowen. Coming up on The Culture Show, our next Wednesday watch party gets a visit from the ghost of holiday movies past.
You will be haunted by three spirits. I've already had enough of that.
We're diving into the many screen lives of A Christmas Carol, from Alastair Sims to Bill Murray, Michael Caine and the Muppets, and even Vanessa Williams. What's your favorite take on Dickens' timeless story of redemption? Call in or join us at the Boston Public Library. It starts today at 2 here on GBH 89.7.
Welcome back to BPR and GBH and NEPM. Marjorie Egan, Jim Browder, live from the library, streaming at youtube.com/GBH News. Am I doing the right thing, or am I supposed to be doing? Okay, fine. Sorry, it's Pledge Day. And I'm
Pledge Day, we're confused.
Thank you. Actually, no, I think just I'm confused, but thank you for joining in. We just spoke with United Nations High Commissioner for Human Rights, and we'd like to bring you into the conversation by call or text at 877-301-8970. As Marjorie mentioned, we're pulling away this country from our international obligations. USAID, Atul Gawande wrote a piece for the New Yorker saying somewhere in the neighborhood of 600,000 people have already died as a result of that defunding. We're cutting back on other forms of foreign aid, allegedly to focus on America first, to focus on our resources internally. Not that it's actually happening, as evidenced by what's going on with healthcare. What do you make of our turn away from being, let's call it, the city on the hill for human rights domestically and humanitarian aid around the world? Already, by some estimates, as I say, so many of these deaths. Give us a call or text us, 877-301-8970. Do you think we should stick to these international humanitarian obligations, or do you subscribe to the notion that we have to take care of our own first? The number is 877-301-8970. You know, well, I think you know what my answer would be, Marjorie. You have an obligation to do both things.
Yep.
If you're one of those 24 million people who's about to get screwed because the Congress is not going to provide health care, those subsidies for you, you can understand how some of them might say, let's take care of people here, even though it's not a financial shortfall. It's a problem. It's an ideological problem. But the other thing that I'm so glad we did reading for this morning, while a slight majority of people think we should cut back dramatically in this country on our foreign aid obligations, when they're next asked what percentage of our budget goes to foreign aid, the average estimate is 25. No, the average estimate is 25%. The actual percentage is under 1%. And when people are told that, they return to the notion that we do have an obligation to the world.
You know, I think I, like a lot of people, am a huge fan of Atul Gawande, physician at the Brigham. He wrote that great book, Being Mortal, in 2014. He's written a lot of other great books. And in his essay in The New Yorker, which is obsessive about fact-checking, $24 per American per year is what it costs us that in our budget. So this is not...
Is that AID or foreign aid all told?
This is USAID.
Yeah.
USAID. So that's how much it costs. And he's written this pretty devastating piece about 600,000 people have died already, two-thirds of them children. You know, the diseases we can prevent, like tuberculosis, like the lack of vaccinations, like childhood malnutrition. All these places kind of depended upon us. And, you know, I was kind of proud that we did this work all around the world. When you see these commercials on television, you know, and you see these terrible stories over the years when there have been these terrible famines, and USAID went in there and tried to ameliorate those things. So, especially when we're giving tax breaks to billionaires and, you know, almost trillionaires like Elon Musk, it does seem that our priorities are kind of screwed up. Yeah, do we have a lot of problems here in the United States? But $24 per year, is that a lot of money? I don't think so.
You just mentioned the solution. Maybe don't do the billionaire tax cuts, and then maybe you can satisfy both obligations to real people here and real people abroad.
Okay, so I think that we are going to be, we're out of time already, so we're going to be back here in a second to talk more about this at 877-301-8970. How do you feel about your country at this particular moment ditching USAID and all that we just talked about? 877-301-8970.
Live, local, 3 hours a day, 5 days a week. Jim Braude, Marjorie Egan, Boston Public Radio. It's here on GBH Radio because of your support. Now's your chance to keep the conversation going. Give online at gbhnews.org or call 888-897-9424.
You know, somebody who's already been kind enough to donate at that number describes him or herself as a friend in JP. Love Jim and Marjorie. Can't afford to go on a trip with Rick Steves, so this is the next best thing.
Yeah.
The thank you gift, or whatever Marjorie calls it. What do you call it? Enticement. For $12.50 a month, you get to go to this virtual European wine tasting with Rick. It's the evening of Thursday, February 26, 8 p.m., and you get 6 small bottles of wine. You know the whole drill. Enough for 2 people, shipped to your door. Rick is a brilliant storyteller. He'll be with a sommelier who knows a lot about wine. And I don't know if you said this earlier, but talk about a great Christmas present when you don't have the Christmas present for somebody who likes wine.
Or Valentine's Day gift.
Well, Christmas, though, is really crisis time. I don't know how many days away it is. It's coming. This is the time, not to mention the fact that we lost all of our federal funding, as you know. So if you appreciate the work that our team does here and all of our colleagues on the air and behind the scenes on this radio station do, here's your opportunity to show it. 888-897-9424, gbhnews.org.
You know, a friend from Cape Elizabeth, Maine says that they've retired out of state. They still listen to us, Jim. You know why they said they listen to us?
No.
Because they remain addicted to Marjorie keeping Jim in his place.
That's, by the way, the only reason I show up every day. It's because I'm addicted to that as well.
I have to get criticized for
That's why Jamie says he shows up every day.
So anyway, if you want to hear me keep
Jim in his place, thank you.
I think my efforts are often rather feeble and
I would say
ineffective.
they are rather feeble,
But
yes.
anyway, that's another reason to donate right now. And here's another one from Samantha in Eastford, Connecticut. I've been listening for decades. Now it's even more important than ever to contribute to independent journalism. This is just a one-day drive. If you've been listening to this station for a while, you've been watching the great shows that come out of PBS for a while, maybe it is time to open up your wallet and donate. And you don't have to donate a ton of money. $5 a month, it would be awesome.
But if you have a ton of money, donate a ton of money.
If you have a ton of money, absolutely donate a ton of money. No question about that, Jim. Listen to this from Fiona and Beverly. I always count on GBH to provide interesting, relevant information without using fear and shock as a tactic to increase and maintain attention. I also love the variety of shows, and I have an excellent conversation starter to use with friends, family, and coworkers. How about that? We enable people's ability to seem engaged during cocktail parties over the Christmas season, Jim.
That's what she says.
888
So here's the deal. By the way, you can support the Keep Jim Marjorie.
888-897-9424, wine.org.
You know, we have done, Marjorie and I, as we've told you, we've done a couple of these virtual wine things.
They're great.
And we're no Rick Steves, let's face it, but they are huge fun. You do learn a lot. The wine, by the way, it's plentiful. While we say it's 6 small bottles of wine, it's actually a ton of wine that comes delivered to your house.
That's right.
And you get to, not only do you learn about wine, and if you care about that, but what you got to care about is one of the great storytellers ever is Rick Steves.
And he's so soothing and uplifting.
He really is,
Yeah.
and he's just a wonderful soul. So here's your opportunity. It's only a one-day deal. We're not going to harass you tomorrow or the next day. This is it. Ends today. 888-897-9424, gbhnews.org. And if you have time to write a little note, like some of you have kindly done, we'd love those too.
888-897-9424.
Some restaurant chains have seen an uptick in customers across the U.S. thanks to viral posts on social media. The culprit fueling the nostalgic economy are appetizers.
The Triple Dipper has been on our menu for decades, and a few years ago, it only made up about 11% of our sales. Just in the last couple of years now, it's up to 15% plus.
The business of going viral on All Things Considered from NPR News.
Today at 4, here on GBH News 89.7.
Vet bills are soaring, and for many pet owners in Massachusetts, it's leading to more than just financial stress. It's leading to lawsuits.
I lost my job, I had a new job. It was too much, and I didn't know. I really never been in this type of situation. I don't know, for $700, if you take him into court, what's next? Giving you my bird? Like, I don't know.
I'm Jennifer McKim. You can find the rest of that story online at gbhnews.org.
Welcome back to BPR on GBH NEP. You and I are handling this broadcast the first hour like it's our first day on the job. Let me tell you.
Well, there's
we are a sad twosome. We really
pledge,
are.
It's, you know,
whatever.
All these other things.
We're live at the lobby, streaming youtube.com/GBH News. Basically, inspired by our conversation with the UN High Commissioner for Human Rights, we are stepping back from our commitment to human rights to our brothers and sisters around the world. Some people say we're doing it because we're putting America first. I don't know which Americans. Actually, Ted and Worcester says we are putting Americans first, billionaires in America first. But nevertheless, a lot of people do say we shouldn't be spending that money, even though it's limited there. We should be spending it here. I don't love that country like I loved the country that cares about people. You know, I'm not a religious person, but that line, but for the grace of God, I mean, that could be us.
Go I.
But I know, but that could be us.
Yeah.
And we're lucky enough to have been born here, or others come here, and it's just, we have that obligation. I want to repeat what I said a minute ago. If I said it too quickly, we're talking to the commissioner, is the United States, the State Department has been directed by the center of the Trump administration in their annual human rights reports on each of the countries with which we deal to no longer mention politically motivated murders, torture, and those sort of things, which has always been the standard. And the two things we should focus on are abortion and gender transition surgery. That's our commitment to human rights around the world. And I have to say, regardless of the cost, it's not what I want us to be.
Okay, we have some good texts here. We mentioned this thing about the vote on the...
You can mention it briefly. Why don't you do that? Yeah.
4 Republicans have joined House Democrats to force a vote on a 3-year extension of the federal subsidies for some health care plans purchased through the ACA, Affordable Care Act, Obamacare, whatever you want to call it. The vote won't be happening until January. House leaders could bring the measure up sooner, but House Speaker Mike Johnson and Majority Leader Steve Scalise would not commit to a timeline for a vote.
These, by the way, the 4 Republicans, all of whom you know, are people who are at risk because they're in districts where Biden or Kamala Harris did particularly well, or maybe even won.
Okay, here's some text on how people feel about our withdrawing from
By the way, can I say one thing about this so people don't get their hopes up? While that may mean there's a majority in the House to extend, I don't know if that'll hold. You need 60 votes, not a majority in the Senate, and that's a real tough mountain to climb. So the 24 million people dependent on those subsidies are still in really bad shape.
It is a tough mountain to climb, but you would think that some senators would be a little bit worried about getting voted out, because this is a big deal.
Yeah, it need to be like a dozen Republicans, though, to buck Donald Trump. Let's see.
Okay, so I'll tell you how I feel about this as one's texter, and this means withdrawing from USAID and from our kind of position as kind of one of the biggest helper of others in the world. I'm appalled, I'm ashamed, I'm so angry, my hair is constantly on fire. So that personally is obviously upset. When I was 6 years old, says another, I learned how to walk and chew gum at the same time. We're the most powerful and richest nation on earth. We can help others and ourselves. And one last one, John in Chelmsford. We won't take care of the people in America, even if we pull out of our international aid. Mike Johnson has already said he will not take up health insurance assistance.
Well, he may be forced to, as we just said, but he has said that. Mim and Lowell, you're first on BPR. Welcome.
Hi, thanks.
Sure.
You can hear me okay?
Perfectly.
Okay. I got a bit of an echo. But
No, I know. By the way, can we say to everybody who calls into the library, we are humiliated by the fact that we submit all of you to this torture.
We're sorry.
And we are really sorry, but we hear you perfectly, Mim.
Jim is going to fix it.
No,
Okay,
nobody's going to fix it, ever.
So,
Go ahead.
this current administration has a policy to dismantle civil rights and human rights in this country, and also to dismantle the safety net. So it would be beyond inconsistent for them to support those kind of efforts overseas. So it's just another facet of the same, I would have deleted.
Well, it's interesting what you're saying, which is putting it in a good way. We're essentially doing overseas exactly what we're doing to our own people in need, screwing them, just like we're screwing people all over the planet. You didn't use those words, but Mim, that's a really good analysis. Thanks for the call.
Yeah, that's
You're welcome. Thanks for having me on.
Sure. That's what Ted from Worcester just said. He said we are supporting our own billionaires.
Yeah.
That was a very good line. Now another texter says if we spent if the American people got as much financial backing as foreign aid or defense, there would be no hunger, homelessness, health problems in the country. That's Ben from Fitchburg. But foreign aid is tiny. The defense is huge, but foreign aid is tiny, as you just talked about. It's a very small part of our budget.
Let's go to Nick in Hartford, Connecticut. Hey, Nick, good to talk to you again.
Hey there, quick question before my point. How much do I need to donate to get a show where Jim gets to completely go off like Peter Finch and Network?
I thought I'd do that every day for free,
That's a
Nick.
good one. Yeah. What did you say?
No, Marjorie's keeping you in your place.
Oh, that's right. I forgot.
Nick, what did he say in Network?
I'm mad as hell and I can't take it anymore.
He's screaming out the window. Yeah, that was a good movie. Faye Dunaway. That was
Make us an offer, Nick, and we'll tell you if it's enough, okay?
Yeah, Jim could do it very well.
What's up?
Let me check my account and I'll get back to you.
Please, what's up?
So the only thing beyond my disappointment for the altruistic and goodwill reasons for these cuts that I don't understand is I don't understand why this government is so committed to cutting out any sort of soft power leverage they would have with other nations as they're trying to make all these deals, supposedly. And they kind of just sound like your really drunk conservative uncle rambling about why we need to stop fixing the world's problems until you point out the benefits of doing this stuff. And it's just really exhausting.
Can I give you a wonderful example? I'm so glad. I was going to mention soft power after you did, and you beat me to it. We had Andrew Natsios on the show, 6 months ago, former chair of the Republican Party in Massachusetts, a very conservative Republican. He went on to be head of USAID, and he had a wonderful quote. I don't know if it was in testimony before Congress or where it was. He said, this is the ultimate soft power, because a lot of people, Republicans, were criticizing spending on, for example, bringing Sesame Street to other countries. Here's his quote, this very conservative Republican. The greatest weapon against al-Qaeda and Islamic extremism is Sesame Street. And what he's talking about is turning, educating young kids and the value that has when they grow up to decide what they're going to embrace. And so, Nick, that's a spectacularly important point, and I'm glad you raised it. And I assume people know what soft power is, as opposed to military power.
Yeah.
It's other kinds
building
of things
schools, building roads.
or bringing Sesame Street to people who would otherwise not see it. That was a fine call there, Nick, as always. Thanks so much for your call.
Very interesting, though, when Volker Türk, the High Commissioner for the United Nations, we just spoke with him, was saying that the countries that have done well absorbing a lot of refugees and immigrants are a lot of poor countries.
Yeah.
And there's been a lot, sociologists have pointed out the fact that often poor people are, because they've been there, are more understanding toward other poor people than wealthy people are. And maybe that's one of our problems in the United States. We're relatively, obviously, well off compared to a lot of countries.
Well, the good news, everybody's getting poorer in this country every day, so we're going to be much more sympathetic to what's going on. Hey, John in Westford, good to talk to you as always. Welcome, John.
Hi, thanks for having me on.
Of course.
I don't think a lot of people realize that that USAID has done a lot of bad things too, and it needs to be reined in.
I agree with that.
For example, the student revolution in Burma, the Maidan revolution in Ukraine. It goes all the way back to Vietnam, where their American was laundered through USAID, and there's also a lot of little things like trans operas in Venezuela. Like, we don't need to be funding these.
Well, you know, John,
we
John,
need it here.
Don't go away. I'm not hanging up on you. By the way, I don't know all those examples, but I think some of what you say is totally legitimate. And the question is, because a program is infected to some degree with financial or other abuse, do you shut it down? If that were the case, we'd have to shut down the whole federal government. And so I guess my question that I asked was some trepidation. So does that lead you to believe that we should have reformed USAID, or was Rubio right to shut it down?
Well, there's still some funding going out.
Very little.
Almost none.
But, I mean, we have people here that are hurting, and there are some countries that are actually refusing it. It's kind of like a Belt and Road Initiative. Like, look what Mexico said about it.
So what's your
They're
answer, though? John, what's your answer? Do we shut it down, or do we reform it and make it healthier and more responsible to our taxpayers?
Reform it to the point of shutting it down almost.
Okay, well, we disagree, but John, as always, thanks for the call. We appreciate it.
In Atul Gawande's great piece in The New Yorker, he talks about the criticisms of USAID, including some of the things that John was just talking about, that there have been episodes in which aid was spent to the American military, including in Vietnam, Iraq, Afghanistan, elsewhere. But at the same time, and he also talks about the agency sometimes fostering dependency, being inefficient, yet at the same time, no other agency has saved more lives per dollar. It helped move billions of people out of poverty, showed how to deliver results for all of humanity, including Americans, through cooperation rather than coercion. So to me, it's a glass that's much more than half full.
You know, since Nick said how much would it cost for me just to go nuts one host show, let me give you 30 seconds and see how it feels, Nick. Who is the single biggest Republican supporter in Congress of USAID when he's in Congress?
Rubio.
Who shut down USAID?
Rubio. Yeah,
right. Talk
which
about
is incredible.
frauds and hypocrites.
Susie Wiles. We're going to talk about Susie Wiles.
We are with
She's
Juliette,
the chief of staff that just gave this pretty incredible interview to Vanity Fair criticizing the Trump administration.
Interviews.
Yeah, 11 over 11 months. She said, Marco Rubio, now, she was criticizing other people. You know, she's not a fan of Elon Musk.
I know that.
She called him, what did she call him?
A ketamine man or whatever she called him.
Yeah, an odd duck,
like
a very odd duck. The guy that shut down USAID, the guy that was out there with his
It's in
chainsaw.
Vanity Fair, I think. Yeah,
but she was saying how basically he had no morals or scruples, and she said, but Marco Rubio, he is a man of principle that will not go against his principles. Well, I think she must have missed the USAID thing, because obviously he did a 180 on that.
Can I say it one more time? The single most outspoken Republican supporter of USAID when he's a senator. 2 months later, he's the Secretary of State for Donald Trump, who gives a damn about nobody except himself. And he agrees to be the leader to shut down this program that helps poor people all over the damn world. I mean, it's just, how do you live with yourself? How do you live with yourself?
Well, I don't know. I mean, that he's the guy that a lot of people say it's either Vance or Rubio is the next guy, or Tucker Carlson is the next guy to go after Donald Trump. I mean, in terms of being the president of the United States.
Peter
and Wenham.
In terms of being the Republican nominee for the presidency.
That's right.
Peter and Wenham. Hi.
Yeah. Good morning. I'd like to talk about the root cause of this authoritarian movement is unchecked capitalism, which is, has allowed the oligarchs to other people. They blame immigrants, they blame others for the problems, but they're the ones who created the conditions to authoritarians who are going to support their policies, which make them even richer and consolidate power. So It's really unchecked capitalism, which is the root of all of this.
I know Marjorie's not going to disagree with that.
Well, I've said it a million times. Why not say it one more time? I mean, I think a lot of people that are much smarter than I am about this think that you need regulated capitalism, which we used to have in what you could say would be the heyday of the middle class in the United States of America between World War II and Ronald Reagan coming in 1980. That unchecked capitalism it does not work. Checked capitalism does. What are you laughing at?
Well, this is a text from an anonymous texter. I want to see if you agree with this. He's trying to, he or she or they are trying to summarize my performance on the show, and I don't think it's unfair. Let's see what you think. Today's show, Jim Braude hates Donald Trump. Tomorrow's show, Jim Braude hates Donald Trump. New guest coming on. What are we covering? Jim Braude hates Donald Trump. Who is the a-hole segment? Jim Braude thinks Donald Trump is the a-hole. Now, that's a moderate exaggeration, but it's not. I don't hate him, by the way. I hate what he does. That is accurate.
Well, it's hard because every day there's more outrage, and the question is, do you talk about every outrage every day, or do you give it a break
Can I tell you
from time
something?
to time? What?
I still have not gotten generally, and this is not a good quality, I don't think. I generally am able to get through the Trump outrage of the day and move on to the next day. This Rob Reiner thing, for some reason, you know how certain things you can't explain why stay with you? I must have read his Truth Social post in the last 48 hours of Trump's. I would say 25 times. I don't even know why. I'm drawn, it's like you're drawn to a horrible accident, but it is so inhumane, so crass,
it is.
so
but
self-serving.
Don't forget, way back in 2015 and 2016, we elected him when he made fun of a disabled reporter.
The New York Times.
We elected him when he said he didn't like, John McCain wasn't a hero. He spent 5 years in a cage in North Vietnam. He likes the veterans that don't get caught. I mean, he's done all these horrible things, not to mention the 24 women who said he put his hand up there, whatever, when they were like having a
Well, he also had a
cheeseburger.
trial. It's just not their allegations.
That's right.
It's E. Jean Carroll.
Found liable of sexual assault, which in Massachusetts would have been considered rape. Listen to this. I'm a veteran who is deployed to and is ashamed about the war in Iraq. I saw the good works of USAID as redemption. I'm more ashamed now, more than ever. I wish the Democratic Party would give voters like me a home. I'm not sure why he thinks the Democrats can't give him a home, but maybe you could text back.
Well, maybe he thinks they don't fight hard enough. I mean, that's what this midterm thing is going to be all. It's just about, rejecting Trumpism, or are people going to feel comfortable the Democratic alternative, whatever it is an acceptable alternative?
George and Methuen, thank you for calling.
We have a minute, George.
Hi, I want to reference to the situation with Venezuela and the Caribbean.
Sure.
Yes.
And the relationship with immigration. We always talk about, or we heard the government talking about that getting immigrants, illegal immigrants, quotation mark, out of the country, but we don't realize how invading other countries and putting people in, putting the diplomacy in effect, bring people in. They just wanted to have the people out. Just to give you an example, what I'm talking about.
30 seconds, George. Yep.
We're almost out of time. I'm
Go ahead,
sorry.
George. Go ahead. 30 seconds,
No,
George.
in 1965, the Lyndon B. Johnson invaded the Dominican Republic. Before that time, in Lawrence, Massachusetts, there were only 25 Dominican living. 2 years after that day, 17,000 Dominicans.
George, I apologize. We are out of time. We
Please
gotta go
call
to
us
the
back
news.
another day.
Or maybe text us. I apologize, but we have to go.
Actually, text us and we'll read your text, George. That's a great idea.
We got to say goodbye to those of you listening on NEPM as well. The Fabulous 413 starts at 3 o'clock this afternoon. We'll continue here in Boston. After the news, we're going to be joined by Juliette Kayyem. She's going to give us the latest on the Brown University shooting and another measles outbreak. I am Marjorie Egan. He's Jim Braude. You're listening to BPR and GBH and NEPM live from the Boston Public Library and streaming at youtube.com/GBH News.
Well, it's the season for giving, and we're taking a few moments during a one-day December fund drive to ask for your gift to GBH. Please give at gbhnews.org or call 888-897-9424. I'm Zach Finn, and I'm here with Mark Cohen.
And here we are with 5 minutes left to go this hour, looking to raise $2,500 in that time. This is a one-day fundraising drive. We are doing our best to raise our overall goal of $100,000 by 7 o'clock tonight so we can get back to the news and the entertainment and all that you come to GBH for. We are counting on you for your help right now. $2,500 to go this hour. What part of that can you help with? Please call us with your support at 888-897-9424 or go online at gbhnews.org.
And we have a great way for you to show your love to GBH right now. We're going to thank you with something really fabulous. It's a ticket to a virtual European wine tasting with expert traveler and author Rick Steves and a professional sommelier. This is a limited offer only today. And again, this is wonderful. The ticket includes 6 small bottles of wine, plenty for 2 people to share, and it is shipped right to your door. Now, the tasting itself is going to happen on Thursday, February 26th, beginning at 8 o'clock, online and in your home. And you don't even have to put on the boots and the coat and all that. Really, really wonderful opportunity. So sign up as a sustaining member at $12.50 a month, or you can give $150 all at once. The deadline to secure your ticket during the membership drive is coming up at 7 when the drive ends. gbhnews.org or 888-897-9424.
Of course, back in July, Congress made it absolutely clear it had no appetite for continuing funding for public media, which is kind of unbelievable given public media's track record for being a popular and efficient use of taxpayer dollars. If you've never given to GBH but believe the funding cuts were short-sighted, then we need to hear from you. GBH would be gone already if not for listener support. It's time for you to join the tens of thousands of people who make this service possible for all. Become a new member by giving what you can, maybe $5 or $10 a month. Easy to do online. Look for the donate button at gbhnews.org or call us at 888-897-9424.
And we do make it easy to give at all times. The process is simple. Over the phone or online, GBH is a nonprofit public service radio station. We bring you the news coverage you trust on the issues facing our communities, our country, and the world. So please take those few minutes now and give as generously as you can. gbhnews.org or give us a call, 888-897-9424.
Again, this is an end-of-year one-day fund drive to raise the money needed to keep this independent source for fact-based journalism on the radio in Boston and throughout our community. Please think about how much you relied on GBH in 2025 and how much you'll be relying on GBH in the new year. And if you can, please make a contribution. All gifts truly are welcome. 888-897-9424, gbhnews.org.
And we're down to $1,600 in the next few minutes. Please take a moment to reflect on how much you relied on GBH this last year, and then go ahead and give as generously as you can. Your contribution now is going to help fund the news in the year ahead. So very important. All gifts are welcome. We're looking for $1,600 now in the next few minutes. 888-897-9424. Online, gbhnews.org.
And a quick reminder, we have the GBH European Wine Tasting event with Rick Steves and a sommelier, a virtual event coming up on Thursday, February 26th. We got a ticket for you and 6 small bottles of wine for your ongoing gift of $12.50 a month or a one-time gift of $150 all at once. 888-897-9424, gbhnews.org.
And since the elimination of our federal funding, almost all of our operating budget comes from community support. Your contribution, added with others, is how we'll keep this independent source for journalism on the air and available to all in Boston. And your contribution has never been more important than it is right now. So go ahead, show that support, get that call started, 888-897-9424, or go online, gbhnews.org, and thank you.
Funding for our programs comes from you and the Cape Cod Foundation, committed to building resources to support community life on Cape Cod, including environmental conservation, arts and culture, and community development. Learn more at capecodfoundation.org.
You're listening to 89.7 WGBH HD1 Boston.
online at gbhnews.org. GBH News, what matters to you?
I'm Jim Browdy, head on Hour 2 of BPR, live from the library. Up first, it's Harvard national security expert Juliette Kayyem on the latest in the Brown University shooting investigation as law enforcement releases new video of a possible suspect. Plus, her thought on the incredible interview of Presidential Chief of Staff Susie Wiles with Vanity Fair.
I'm Marjorie Egan. Then step aside. Vinyl, CDs, and DVDs are back, at least for Gen Z. We'll talk to the Culture Show's Jared Bowen about that, plus the mythology of Hamnet and its connection to the Bard's most famous soliloquy. It's all next in the second hour of BPR, 89.7 GBH, live from the Boston Public Library.
Live from NPR News in Washington, I'm Windsor Johnston. Prosecutors in Los Angeles say they're charging the son of slain Hollywood filmmaker Rob Reiner and his wife Michelle with murder. Steve Futterman reports Nick Reiner is scheduled to appear in court at this hour.
We expected Nick Reiner to appear in court yesterday, but it was delayed since he had yet to be given medical clearance. Today, court officials will try again. The hearing is likely to be brief, with Reiner being formally told of the charges. He could also enter a plea. The 2 first-degree murder charges carry a maximum sentence of death, but the district attorney says he has not yet decided if he will seek the death penalty.
That's Steve Futterman reporting from Los Angeles. The manhunt continues for a suspect in the deadly mass shooting at Brown University. Officials say they're putting together a growing body of surveillance footage. They're hoping it will help them identify a person of interest. Ben Burke from Ocean State Media reports 2 people were killed in the shooting on Saturday and 9 others were injured.
Investigators are cobbling together footage from private surveillance systems, Ring doorbells, and Teslas in the neighborhood next to Brown's campus. When combined, investigators say this footage is creating a clearer picture of their suspect. A heavy-set person in dark clothing who carried a satchel and wore a winter hat and a surgical mask. Providence Police Chief Oscar Perez says he thinks even this limited footage could help someone recognize the person of interest.
You want to focus on the body movements, the way the person moved their arms, the body posture.
Perez says the suspect arrived in the neighborhood over 5 hours before the shooting. He and other investigators said they still have no information about a possible motive. For NPR News, I'm Ben Burke in Providence.
Warner Brothers is urging its shareholders to reject a $108 billion takeover bid from Paramount. Instead, the board is standing by an agreement struck with Netflix to acquire its Hollywood studios and its streaming service, HBO. NPR's David Folkenflik has been following the sale.
They're questioning whether that $108 billion is solid. The Ellisons took on, and Paramount took on, a lot of money from Middle Eastern funds to do this, many tens of billions of dollars, and they're questioning what they're calling the Ellison family's backstop. The Ellisons say, hey, look, we're good for it. We're putting $40 billion. It's part of our family trust, so you have it. And Warner Brothers is saying, we can't see into that trust. And it's also revocable, which means the terms of it are changeable. So we don't have insight into that trust.
NPR's David Folkenflik reporting. Stocks are trading lower on Wall Street at this hour. The Dow Jones Industrial Average is down 126 points. The Nasdaq down 289. This is NPR News.
Good morning. With the latest from the GBH Newsroom, I'm Henry Santoro. Quincy Mayor Thomas Koch has fired the city's emergency management director, Ali Slyman. Slyman was arrested last week and charged with assault and battery on a household member and witness intimidation. The Patriot Ledger reports the incident occurred in a city-owned vehicle Slyman and his date had taken to a local steakhouse for drinks on Friday night. Massachusetts Governor Maura Healey has dipped her toes into one of the country's messiest Democratic Senate primaries yesterday by endorsing fellow Democratic Governor Janet Mills in Maine. In a video posted on social media showing Healey and Mills standing side by side, Healey says Mills is the only candidate in the race with a proven record of standing up to bullies like Donald Trump. Mills is facing a political newcomer, Graham Plattner, in the battle to determine who will take on Republican Senator Susan Collins. And for the third time this month, a large thresher shark has washed ashore on Cape Cod. This one, a male measuring nearly 13 feet, was found stranded this past Sunday at Great Island in Wellfleet. Cape Cod Times reports the stranding reinforces what marine scientists say is a tragic but familiar seasonal pattern, driven by rapidly cooling waters and the Cape's unique seascape. It's suspected the shark made a navigational error. In sports, the professional women's hockey team, the Boston Fleet, are in New York tonight. In the forecast, sun clouds, mid-40s today, clear upper 20s overnight, mostly sunny near 50 degrees tomorrow, rain and near 60 on Friday. This is GBH News.
Support for NPR comes from NPR stations. Other contributors include Bayer. Bayer is dedicated to delivering breakthroughs that save lives and feed the world using the scientific process. Learn more at ScienceDelivers.com. This is NPR.
Welcome to hour number 2 of Boston Public Radio. Jim Browdy and Marjorie Egan. We are broadcasting live from the Boston Public Library. Thank you. Streaming at youtube.com/GBH News. The Governor of the Commonwealth, Maura Healey, who apparently is going to just endorse Janet Mills, is going to be with us December 23rd. She's running up in Maine for governor. She's running for governor?
She is governor. She's running for the Senate seat
for Senate.
against Susan Collins.
Okay, I was close.
That was close enough. Same state.
Same state.
Okay,
that's right.
fine.
Anyway, she's going to be with us December 23rd from 11 till noon at the Boston Public Library studio.
Not Janet. Not Janet Mills.
Not Janet
Our
Mills.
governor.
Our governor who just endorsed Janet Mills.
Wow.
Yeah. Okay.
Can I say one more thing? We're getting a lot of texts from people.
The opening of the show, don't you think?
We're getting a lot of texts from people
like a machine
who missed part of the interview with the United Nations High Commissioner for Human Rights at the top of the show at 11. He was terrific. Jamie, how fast is that posted at GBH News? Imminently. So check it out, GBH News. No, youtube.com/GBH News, and that'll be up there soon if it's not already. Oh, thank you, Nicole. It is up already. youtube.com. Don't do it while we're talking. /GBH News.
See the text from Cheryl in Norwell?
No.
Those saying we don't have the money to fund USAID don't seem to complain about astronomical ICE and defense funding.
Excellent. We're joined now at the library desk by national security expert Juliette Kayyem. Juliette's former assistant secretary for Homeland Security under President Obama, faculty chair of the Homeland Security Program at Harvard's Kennedy School of Government, and CNN's senior national security analyst. Hello there, Juliette.
Hello.
Hi there.
Nice to be here.
Juliette,
glad to have
I've
you.
seen you a lot on TV talking about this horrible tragedy at Brown University, two students dead, I think 9 others injured. You wrote a piece for The Atlantic saying it felt different.
Yeah.
How so?
Well, look, I mean, I have a certain beat, which generally involves horrible things happening to
Tell people what you
innocent
call
people. Well, we call it. This is the ironic, cynical humor, that gallows humor, but it's called the dead people beat.
It's horrible,
and
but
it's
true.
horrible, but it is true that just when bad things happen, people like me get called to go on radio or TV or write. But it, it's always had sort of a distance. The first phone, and generally I sort of described in the piece sort of what generally happens to someone like me when something bad happens is you get a phone call from a producer or editor. Where are you? Can you get on air? Can you write something? The first phone call on this, because of the alerts, because of social media, came from my daughter, who is an alum at Brown University. I also spent a lot of time in Rhode Island, so happened to be about 20 miles from where all this was happening. And about what she was hearing. Now, this is sort of the process where you're getting incoming from not valid sources. My daughter just is hearing, sort of stuff from people who are hearing stuff, and then trying to validate it. And I know the community, I know the university, I know the geography. In fact, CNN wanted me to go there, and I drove past my daughter's apartment as I was going to where they were all set up. So it just had an intimacy that most of these things don't. And but that made me
It's a beautiful neighborhood, Brown. I mean, it's
Yeah,
all those big,
and
huge houses, east side of
Yeah,
Providence,
and-
RISD's right there.
Right, and it's all, it's an urban school. I'm sorry, it's in Providence, but it has these beautiful courtyards. But most of the school, like the building where the shooting happened, are in residential areas around beautiful homes. I don't know what percentage it is, but I certainly know my daughter by junior and senior year was living off campus in these, brownstones that they rent and stuff. And so it just had an intimacy, and it made me realize, we should have an intimacy with all of these shootings, regardless of where our location is or where our children went to school, and it was, in a weird way, I just needed to sort of be reminded of that.
Well, you feel an intimacy if your kid went to school or you went to school.
Yeah.
I mean, yours is more intense. I should know this. The longer it goes before you identify a person who's allegedly responsible, does that mean you're getting closer to finding it, or is it more likely that you'll never find it?
So I've been around long enough to know that there's so much I don't know. Like literally, I could leave here and be in the car and they say they got him, right? This is what happened with the United Healthcare person. Like they think that they lost him and then all of a sudden they found him. So, but there are differences with this one. I mean, one is the lack of any ability to crowdsource who they're looking for. So it's a manhunt without a name or even a face, as far as we know.
But the way he walks and his body.
So that's what's going on with the release of that.
We think it's a pillow.
It might be a pillow, but what they think is going on is someone's got to know who he is. He has a parents, he has friends, or a community. Maybe that will trigger some ability for people to realize, like if he's my next door neighbor, maybe then I would identify it. But that's not the kind of picture that we're used to seeing, say, after the Boston Marathon bombing, where there's a picture, and if you see him on the street, let us know kind of attitude.
Or Charlie Kirk. There was a
Charlie
face.
Kirk, and the time. I mean, look, the problem is he seems to have been casing the area, which does make you rethink the narrative of what's going on, because he does look like he's sort of trying to figure out where things are. So, I mean, is this his first time in the area? Was he looking for a high density place and happened upon it, which was this review session? And then he exits after the killings, and not as everyone has a phone now. I mean, that's the amazing thing, that no one sort of is able to get him in the moment that it happens, and that there's no good live shot of him.
Can I, this young man, I think his name was Ben Erickson, who was identified as the suspect. The great line from, I think his name was Ray Donovan, who was Ronald Reagan's Secretary of Labor, who I think was indicted and then acquitted, and his great line was, "Where do I go to get my reputation back?"
Yeah.
This kid, when you Google him, I think he's in his 20s, for the rest of his life, is going to be identified as somebody who was a suspect for a short period of time.
They did it again. They, being the social media detectives who have no idea what's going on, they're doxing a Brown student right now.
Well, that's that right-wing nuts, like the Loomers.
They go after, so he's, my daughter was telling me, I think he's Lebanese, he's got an Arabic name, and they were doxing him so much so that Brown came out with a statement last night saying, he's a student here, this is not the guy, like everyone stopped doxing him, but for the rest of his life, if you Google him, it will come up. I mean, it's just they have no idea what's going on. Look, but I will say, the government's not innocent in this. The FBI, and it's still unqualified, wholly unqualified and still unqualified, director, the FBI director, Kash Patel, they start live tweeting sort of what's going on. We have a person of interest. And, even though they say it's a person of interest, if the FBI director is pushing out information and praising everyone for their great investigation, of course everyone's going to think that this is the guy. And then you saw the locals and states unwinding it, and the mayor looked livid that night when he had to unwind it. They did have a press conference, today's Wednesday, on Tuesday, where it looked like they were trying to reunify the federal, state, and local aspects of it, and then move forward. But I mean, it's clear they're saying publicly that there's been a rift.
Just one last thing here, and I broached this with you, and you were kind enough to call in the day after briefly. Is the what's it called? Shelter in place thing, which I'd never heard of until the Tsarnaev situation. Yeah. Just like Deval Patrick lifted it before Tsarnaev was captured, obviously that's been lifted in Providence. I'm not in the business of scaring people, and I hate people who do what I'm about to do, but I don't know how to avoid it. Why should a person in Providence feel safe today when you have no idea if he's next door or if he's in Iowa?
So this is a
What's wrong with that? Why are you making a face?
It's a very difficult.
You're never safe anywhere.
No, but there's a guy who just killed two people on the loose.
I think the mayor did the right thing. I think you can definitely pierce it and see the inconsistency between saying you can go out and about and we haven't caught him. But I have long been against, sort of shutting down until we find the guy.
I'm not saying that. I just don't know.
But I think you're right. I mean, I think that the narrative is very difficult, and I think the mayor of Providence is trying to, walk that fine line between we have to move forward. Look, the only way you're actually going to move forward is find this guy. Do you know how many texts I got yesterday? And I don't know enough to know anything, but I got at least half a dozen texts asking if the tragedy with the MIT professor was connected. I was like, I didn't even think of that, but I think people are just really, really
about which
on
we know
edge.
nothing.
We
by
know
the way,
nothing. We know nothing.
We only have 2 minutes till break, and then you're going to stay with us. So can I just shove something in quickly?
Yes.
Another thing, the Coast Guard has produced a policy this is almost impossible to read, downgrading swastikas and nooses from hate symbols to quote potentially divisive.
Yeah.
But not hate symbols, nooses and swastikas, potentially divisive. Do you have any, is there anything to say about this except about how sick it is?
Yeah. I mean, the non-divisive swastika theory, I don't know it, and I would like someone to tell me that. I was like, oh, I'm sorry, I meant the swastika that is really nice,
just unbelievable.
And it is. And the amazing thing about this is, Washington Post reported that they were going to do this. The DHS and the Coast Guard come out, fake news, whatever, and then of course they try to slip it in on a big news day.
It's horrible.
But it is horrible, and the Coast Guard is like really fantastic. This is just like such a. The sort of anti-woke sentiment or the sort of criticism of diversity has just like walked into we're just going to be racist and sexist and anti-Semitic.
Okay.
Like you can be anti-woke, I guess, but that line does not lead me to supporting a swastika.
Got to take a break.
Okay, we're going to take a break.
Could be,
but we're going to keep talking to Juliette Kayyem after this. We're going to talk to her about this big measles outbreak. You're listening to Boston Public Radio, 89.7 GBH, broadcasting live from the Boston Public Library and streaming it, youtube.com/GBH News.
It's time to support Boston Public Radio on GBH. Listener contributions pay for the program and keep it on the air. You don't have to give much to make a difference. Please make a difference by giving now at gbhnews.org or by calling 888-897-9424.
Okay, this may not be the best time for our listeners, Jim, but you know what's great about the Pledge is that we get these nice remarks from people.
I love them.
There are nasty remarks, too, but we're not going to read the nasty remarks, of course. But here's a nice remark from Wendy in Cambridge, who says, NPR has been a constant, reliable source of news since I was a teenager. I'm in my 50s now. NPR has shaped my knowledge and quality of life in so many ways. I don't always have time to sit down and read a newspaper or my phone, but listening to NPR as a move about my daily life keeps me in the loop. Thank you very much. And one more. This is Sally, Ann, and Lynn. I'm a sustaining member. I look forward to listening every day. If my radio is on, it is on WGBH, or GBH, I should say. We get rid of the W. Anyway, Sally Ann says thank you very much. So this is why we have these pledge drives, because the federal government under Donald Trump has decided that we don't get any more funding. We did for decades and decades and decades. Small percentage, but still, especially if you're out in a place like Indiana, a big percentage of your funding came from the federal government. So we are totally relying now on the generosity of people who take the time to listen to us every day, or take the time. It's just these nice remarks people send. And today we have a great gift for $12.50 a month. That is the virtual European wine tasting with Rick Steves. And you talk to him for 15 minutes, your blood pressure goes down about 20 points, and he tells you all these wonderful stories about traveling in Europe, plus you're drinking wine. How could that be improved? 888-897-9424, gbhnews.org.
Do you remember when we did one of these virtual wine things? We did it from the Seaport Hotel.
We were at a funeral.
We weren't at a funeral. We had gone to a memorial service.
That's
the
right.
memorial service is over. We did it in a room at the hotel. And all I will say is one of us had to be helped to the car. That is and they didn't drive. They got a ride home.
Jim has got a thing about women drinking.
No, I don't.
I listened to you yesterday with the lovely Christina Quinn, who's going to be
Who's
with
I
me
talking
tomorrow.
about?
You were talking to her about drinking too. He wants to point.
I was talking to
He wants
her
to make
about
his co-host into a lush. What do you think about that, Juliette Kayyem?
I would stay out of this if I were you. Okay, as we said, Rick Steves, 6 bottles of wine, which are, based on our experience, really high-quality wine, delivered to your house in advance. By the way, you can invite the whole neighborhood over if you want.
Yeah, it's a lot
for
of
this
wine.
kind of thing. But much more importantly...
That's right. You could get 12 bottles of wine or 18 bottles of wine and have a party.
You could have a party.
You could do that.
You could. Or, as I said before, you can give this as a gift. I'm sure. How many days? What day is today? 17? 8 days till Christmas. You have no idea what to get, X or Y or that sort of thing. This is the perfect gift. And we totally forgot one of the most important elements.
Yes.
For this hour only, this is Marjorie's fault, by the way, this hour only, a dollar-for-dollar match.
It's a match.
Marjorie, if someone gives $7.50, what does it become?
$15.
Exactly. Double. It is a dollar for dollar match. It's only for this. She's so happy because she got it right. Only for this hour. 877. No, it's not 877. It's
888-897-9424 at gbhnews.org. Thank you very much.
Welcome back to BPR. We're continuing our conversation with Juliette Kayyem.
Okay, we're going to quickly mention this terrible measles outbreak in South Carolina, all these people quarantined.
Yeah.
I mean, is this going to start happening all around the country with this nut running Health and Human Services?
Yes. I mean, this is the preparedness paradox, as we call in my field, sort of showing its face, which is no one realizes the benefit of these preventative measures until they start showing themselves because we're not prepared. This is totally preventable. I've noticed that everyone but the secretary that's sort of aligned with HHS has been out there, the FDA head and others, urging people to get their vaccines. And they're like, we're not against vaccines. We're just raising questions. But nonetheless, I think they see that this is out of control because I think that or at least what we know is that at a church is where, or some public gathering is when they had the massive outbreak. Now, all of those people are going to other places. It's really preventable, and it was knowable the second everyone voted for him. Thank you, senators. This one was, Hegseth, all of them, you knew that they were unqualified. Kennedy sort of stands on his own because he's anti his subject. Like, well, at least with Hegseth, he's like way too pro, killing and war. Kennedy wants to dismantle.
And we should point out that 3 people have died in the last year, and 2 of them were children. All 3 were unvaccinated.
Yeah.
And let me just say one more thing. For those who think we're just beating up on RFK, because that's what we do to Trump people, Google Samoa and RFK Jr. and measles and find out how every responsible leader involved blames him for the death of dozens of people because he flew to the island to urge them not to take this life-saving vaccination. So it's part of his history.
Yeah, there's like this side story going on with these reporters like Olivia Nuzzi and Ryan Lizza and all of DC is like interested in what happened to them because she had apparently some affair with RFK. And I find myself not interested and angry in all the players because it's like their drama is at the expense of these children that are dying, essentially. That RFK Jr. just gets a pass everywhere he goes. I mean, he is unqualified. I believe, I've said this before, that he believe, and it's so shocking given his background as an addict, that he believes in some form of sort of like chosen people, like if you're not healthy, if you're not, well, that's strong, but like if you're basically that if you can't be healthy, that's not our problem, because that's sort of like there's no remedy for not being healthy. You're like, actually we have like really good medical care, if you're not
airport.
Yeah.
In any case, can we move on to one of the most incredible stories? If you were a leader and your chief of staff did 11 interviews with a magazine to say you had an alcoholic's personality, that one of your key friends and advisors was, what do you call him, a ketamine head?
Yes, ketamine, avowed ketamine user.
That the vice president of your company was a conspiracy theorist, on and on like this. This is Susie Wiles, the chief of staff for Donald Trump, giving 11 interviews over a year, 11 hours to Vanity Fair. And the best part of this, if you haven't read it, you got to read at least the summaries. My favorite part about this, none of them say that she didn't say it. It's one of those out of context. And the reason is because the writer taped all of the interviews. Right. So all they say is it's out of context. What'd you make of this? What was the part of this that you heard that really did it for you? And you too, Marjorie.
Well, one is what we didn't hear, which going back to RFK, like she just throws everyone under the bus. But she is only love for RFK Jr., which is like kind of bizarre. I thought the most interesting thing was it also not only did it show sort of her true feelings about the people around her, it showed how unsuccessful she is as chief of staff, because basically it's just a litany of things that she wanted that Trump is like an alcoholic, right? Like Trump is right. Jim Trump is an alcoholic and not listening to me. So exactly what you said. She didn't want a pardon of all the January 6th defendants, and he did all of them. She didn't want she said after 6 months, stop going after Democrats, move forward, and she didn't get that. On immigration, she wanted to tone it down, and Stephen Miller just basically, sort of sideswiped her. And then I think, okay, why did she do this?
By the way, before you go, can I just say, when we both said alcoholic's personality, all of us know that Trump doesn't drink. Her father, who's a famous football player and broadcaster, Pat Summerall, was an alcoholic, and she said he has the same sort of qualities that her father did. But go ahead, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I mean, that's still not a compliment.
Oh, no, but he does. No, but we know he doesn't drink.
I know. I think it's like more defensible if you drink.
Thank God he doesn't drink.
Exactly. I mean, like, at least there's an excuse. Like, oh my God, drunk as a skunk. But like, this is just him normal. So I mean, I mean, it is true they're all coming to her defense. It was like basically someone sent an email saying, everyone tweet out how much you love Susie Wiles. Like it was really, and like over the top. But I think we always want to believe in the wise man or wise woman around Trump as if he's not responsible for his own actions. We did it with the chief of staff, Kelly. We did it with H.R. McMaster, sort of like, well, the wise men, there's smarter people, there's calmer people around him. None of them are successful. He likes his Steve Millers. He likes his J.D. Vances. He likes his Hegseths.
What was your big take? What was the one thing that stuck with you from this story?
That she trashed Pam Bondi. I like that because...
What did she call her? Did I know that word?
She said Attorney General Pam Bondi, quote, unquote, completely whiffed the Epstein files things. And I like that because I think Pam Bondi is ruining the Justice Department, which is in a very upsetting way. So I'm glad she criticized her.
How about the thing you mentioned to me this morning? She seems to say, though not explicitly, is that Trump's attacking with Pegseth of these boats in the Caribbean and Pacific is not about drugs.
Yeah,
of course not.
It's about regime change.
They're not even heading here. No, I mean, when you say, like, if you're every foreign intelligence agency is reading that magazine story, it is absolutely clear that is what is happening in Venezuela. If they can't sort of, smoke them out, I think that's a term they use now, smoke out. With no deliberation, and the only reason why, I guess we saw it overnight because Trump said that they are stolen oil fields. Just for the record, they're not stolen. They're Venezuela's. Like no one's stealing anything, but that's going to be the pretext. The pretext is going to be drugs. The reality is, The Kushner family once again is gonna, all of a sudden Kushner is gonna go from media acquisitions to oil field acquisitions.
Yeah, they want the oil. I mean, they want the oil.
But they don't want it for the United States. I mean, the crazy thing is, they don't want it for the United States. They want it for Kushner and Trump and Trump Jr.
and Witkoff.
And Witkoff.
Yeah.
Like, they don't, like, if I'd have an argument about whether it's good U.S. policy, if I thought that this was about U.S. policy. Don't tell me the peace deal, and can't even call it that anymore, in Israel is about anything
it's about
but
money.
And a peace
yeah,
prize.
it's about money. No, it's all about money.
Right, it's all about
and,
money. The
we used to
crypto
have-
stuff.
We have something in the Constitution which nobody gives a damn about anymore. You're
Yeah.
not supposed to enrich yourself on behalf of the...
But what I don't understand is, like, the chief of staff's strategy for doing that. Like, did she just lose herself?
I don't know.
Or,
It's the unanswered question.
Yeah, I mean, it's like you know not to riff with a Vanity Fair reporter.
know.
I mean, it's so I can't quite get what her strategy is unless she's looking for an exit strategy and then.
We gotta
moving
go.
forward. We gotta go because we gotta raise money for these people.
Juliette Kayyem,
15 seconds. For those who don't know, I just meant to say this before. Karen Reed's lawyer is representing the son of the Reiners in his murder.
Okay, but wait, the most important thing quickly, guest co-hosting Friday. Everyone come back.
She'll be here Friday.
That's right. She'll be
co-hosting.
here.
Thank you, Juliette.
It's
It's
going to
good
be
to
wild.
see you.
Juliette Kayyem is former Assistant Secretary for Homeland Security under President Barack Obama, Faculty Chair, Homeland Security, Harvard's Kennedy School of Government, CNN Senior National Security Analyst. Coming up after a quick pledge break, GBH Executive Arts Editor Jared Bowen is here. He's going to tell us about the new Hamnet movie and the 20 biggest Boston culture moments of the year. I'm Marjorie Egan. He's Jim Browdy. This is BPR at 89.7 GBH, live from the Boston Public Library.
Think about it. For 3 hours every day, you get to hear thought-provoking conversations on local, national, and international issues for free. It only happens with your support, so please support your Boston Public Radio listening by calling 888-897-9424 or giving online at gbhnews.org.
888-897-9424 is the number. gbhnews.org is the website where you can give securely. This is our one-day December drive. We have a match going on now, which means, as Jim said before, if you give $7.50, that will wind up being $15. If you give $100, that will wind up being $2. You get 2 for 1. It's like a big coupon. Your money goes twice as far. And this is a particularly precarious time for us because, of course, the Trump administration has shut off funding to PBS all across the country. And this is particularly significant. It's significant to us. It's also significant to these little tiny stations out in the middle of nowhere, like in Indiana and Idaho, that are really, I mean, some of them are going to shut down entirely. So anyway, we have a wonderful enticement today. Is the $12.50 a month virtual European wine tasting with expert traveler and author Rick Steves, who is a wonderful guy. And by the way, Jim just brought up a great idea. Not only could you give it for Christmas or Valentine's Day, you could have a party with this. You could have 6 people over at your house, right? And everybody gets their bottles.
You have 4 people over too.
You could have 4 people.
11
you could
people
just do
if you want a
2
big
people.
party.
You
Yeah.
do a big party,
Very
and
good
it'll be
point.
really fun, a virtual,
I like that.
to talk to Rick Steves about his great travels in Europe and to taste delicious wine. Pretty great evening. 888-897-9424, gbhnews.org.
And again, the match only for this hour. It expires in 28 minutes. Every single dollar you contribute, whether it's $12.50 a month for the Rick Steves thing, or $1,000 or $5,000, it gets doubled just for this hour. So there's no better time to give. Call 888-897-9424. Go to gbhnews.org. Welcome back to BPR. Marjorie Egan, Jim Browdy, live at the library, streaming at youtube.com/GBH News. Next Tuesday, the governor joins us for an hour of Ask the Governor. Joined out live at the library by Jared Bowen, Executive Arts Editor for GBH, host of The Culture Show, broadcasting here at the library today, starting at 2 o'clock, so stick around. Hi, Jared.
Hey, Jared.
How are you?
Fine.
Good.
So let's do we have any sound for this? Let's start with this movie, Hamnet. Having to do with William Shakespeare and his supposed son who died in the plague at age 11. Tell us.
Well, this is based on the book by Maggie O'Farrell, which is a bestseller, and she was really interested in the notion that that William Shakespeare wrote a play called Hamlet and had a son named Hamnet, and those names were interchangeable in Shakespeare's time. So she explored this notion through fiction about what it means that you have an amazing artist and writer like William Shakespeare, and how he is processing his grief through the death of his son. So now we have this really extraordinary film that just picked up 6 nominations for the Golden Globes: actor, supporting actor, director, screenplay, score, and with Paul Mescal playing William Shakespeare, who we find him as a Latin tutor as a teenager, and he meets Jessie Buckley's Anne Hathaway, although they've changed the name to Agnes Hathaway, because apparently they don't want to confuse people with Agnes. I don't think people are not going to be confused with Anne Hathaway, the movie star, with Anne Hathaway,
Why don't
Shakespeare's
they call
wife.
her Murgatroyd?
Yeah, exactly.
They were going to do that,
Matilda.
actually. They decided, they tested it, didn't work out. Next.
But anyway, in this very young marriage, they have 3 children. As in real life, Shakespeare is going off to London to create his plays, which leaves Anne Hathaway. I'm going to just keep calling her Anne Hathaway. Keeps leaving her at home.
That's right.
With
so
the
he could
children.
fall in love with Gwyneth Paltrow at Shakespeare in Love.
But she also moves beyond this trope that Shakespeare was an absent father, because even some recent discoveries have showed that they were together in London, so it wasn't a divided marriage. And then there's the death of their son Hamnet. And the way this is constructed is so extraordinarily beautiful and powerful and so incredibly sad, because they're grieving the loss of this son, and he's having to do it to some degree alone. She is the mother who has just lost her child and has such difficulty reconciling this. And then the final act of this film is how we see the story of Hamnet woven into Hamlet.
Okay, can I rarely do this because you guys are much more into history and context than I am. One of the best pieces I've ever read about anything is in the Atlantic called The Long History of the Hamnet Myth. It talks about the book. What's the woman's name again?
Maggie O'Farrell.
Maggie O'Farrell challenges the thesis of the book, saying, in fact, an earlier version of Hamlet was written before his son even lived, much less thought. The point, I don't know what's right or wrong. It is one of the most fascinating historical. Did you not love this piece?
Yes.
Did you see the piece?
I didn't see the Atlantic
Oh,
piece.
whatever. Did you see the piece?
I did.
What do you think of it?
I thought it was one of the most
Okay,
fascinating
nobody
things I've ever
cares.
read in my
Okay.
entire
In any
life.
case,
Well,
trust
to be
my
clear,
judgment.
she's not
It is
trying to
great.
recreate history. This is a fictional
Fiction.
author.
Right. Yeah,
who's
yeah,
trying to
yeah.
explore this and I think make sense of life in the way that she can, especially as a writer, and how a writer uses that material.
You know what's very hard for me to take
What?
is when I read that, maybe it's in her book, that he was called Will at the time. It just doesn't feel right, does it? I mean,
better
he's-
than Bill
He's
or
Will.
Billy.
What if he was Billy Shakespeare? That's a wonderful point. Now I feel better. Okay, we're talking to Jared Bowen.
Okay, 20 biggest Boston pop culture moments of 2025.
Just pick one, everybody, that you love from that.
Well, of course.
Can I pick mine?
Coldplaygate.
Oh, that was mine. Here's a little sound. Whatever happened to these people, by the way?
They got divorced.
Here is Chris Martin accidentally stumbling into one of the most viral moments of 2025. This is number 1 on the Globe list during the Kiss Cam segment of a show at Gillette. This is in July. Here it is.
Oh, look at these two. All right, come on. You're okay? Oh, what? Either they're having an affair or they're just very shy.
You know, I've said this to you before. One of the great things the Herald used to do when you were there, they had a section called Where Are They Now?
Yeah.
Where they would do a thing. Don't you want to know what happened to these two people?
Well, I know she got divorced. I'm not sure if he got divorced, but he was the president of the company and she was in HR. And the woman was just newly married too. Didn't they just build a house in Nantucket or Martha's Vineyard or something?
Oh, whatever.
But it's all over
What's
now.
your top? Did you have a top cultural moment of the year?
So we're basing this off the Boston Globe's list for events, and I think there's a theme in all of the celebrities that came home this year. John Cena came home
Oh, that's
and
a good point.
retired from wrestling. The governor proclaimed it John Cena Day. We saw
did?
Elizabeth Banks is coming home. She's a Pittsfield native. Speaking of Karen
I
Reed,
didn't
you were just
know
talking
that.
about her attorney, that she is going to be playing Karen Reed in the film as she's adapted it under her own production
that
company.
either.
Donnie Wahlberg has come home because he, in carrying Blue Bloods forward in Boston Blue, he shot some of the episodes right here in
People
Boston.
like that show too, I've heard.
I think people love that show, and I think it's in part because everybody comes together at the end of each episode in the family dinner style.
Yeah,
Something
every
you saw in
Sunday.
Blue Bloods, he continues it here. Jessica Chastain, no Massachusetts connection, except for She was a Harvard student this year, making the Charles Hotel her dorm. So we attracted quite a few.
So you're
A-listers.
unwilling to say what your cultural, you're unwilling to commit. Is that what I'm hearing?
For my pop culture moment, I don't know. I've looked at the other, the bigger moments, like the cuts in arts funding and AI and how that's affecting art.
Jordan Hudson, she was like a big
Jared's
moment.
above that. What can I say? Okay, let's forget the
I'm
culture
not
moment.
saying I'm above it.
No, I
just
said it.
listed
I
all
just
the
said it.
things.
You didn't
We
say
haven't
it.
heard from them in days.
Who?
Is the season over in North Carolina?
Sadly, it is, yeah.
He lost overall?
Lost, yeah, he lost overall.
So he's going to be back next year?
No bowl games, no nothing.
No bowl games, no nothing.
Okay, so let's go to something that you will be interested in. DVDs and CDs are making a comeback. I skimmed this piece. I am assuming the reason, this relates to our book discussion a few weeks ago. A lot of people like physical manifestations of things they like in their presence. Like if I love a book, even though I know I'm never going to read it again, I like having it around. Is that what this is about, or is there something else going on?
Well, I think it's really interesting. We've kind of noticed this trend on the culture show this year in people going back to nostalgia, whether it's smoking on one extreme, sex in movies, or physical objects like this.
Is there more sex in movies?
There's more sex. There has been more sex in movies over the last year. There's more smoking in movies over the last year.
A lot of smoking, that is true.
People are talking about how people are picking up smoking again for some reason. And then there's DVDs, CDs, and cassettes, actually, which Gen Z and Gen Y are picking up more. And there are a few different reasons for this. One, they argue that in the case of DVDs, you have a better quality than you will find with streaming. There's also this major issue of ownership. People are realizing streaming, or if I've rented it from somewhere, or I think I've downloaded it, because the technology keeps changing, or the streamers change, and you've lost what you had. But if you have, of course, the physical copy of your film, you have that forever. I think what's also resonating with people is the fact that streaming, I don't know that people know this, as more and more products are being put onto the streaming services, they're editing some of that content. You have people like George Lucas going back and fiddling with some of his own films.
Why?
They'll change dialogue or themes. Some of it is because they want to keep iterating, and that's the case of George Lucas. He kind of thinks that his films continue to evolve as he touches them. Other people are correcting things that are maybe politically incorrect in this time. When people want the actual true version, and again, the only way you can have that is if you have the original VHS, CD, or DVD. And so there's also just the tactile nature of it. And I think it's kind of interesting to look at all of this in totality and see how much people just want to go backwards rather than forwards.
That's like vinyl. We've discussed this with vinyl. Obviously, you've been making a huge
So
comeback
was it
last couple
ridiculous to
years.
save all your DVDs? I have massive piles of DVDs.
Well, see, in my last move, I got rid of all my CDs, and now I'm thinking maybe that was a bad move, because I thought, I think some of us, what? Why are you laughing?
Who is shocked that Marjorie has mountains of DVDs?
Do you still have your DVD player?
I do.
No, she doesn't. You don't have a DVD
real quick, can I tell the great story before we go to
Sure.
one of my favorite stories of all time. This is a long time ago when DVDs were huge, and there was a great story about how at Black Friday, when everybody used to go crazy on Black Friday, this woman was trampled at a Walmart, and her sister said there were like elephant marks on her back from people stepping all over her because there was a DVD that was on sale for like $10 or something like that. And everybody was appalled at the cruelty. How could you do this over a $10 DVD? Then it turned out that the woman had been trampled at 7 other Walmarts.
It's one of the best stories ever.
So we don't have to feel as bad.
I love that
Before
one.
we take a break, this is from Zoe and Jamie. They were at her Christmas party. They could not believe in her living room was a VHS player with a tape in it.
That is
what
correct.
What tape was in there?
The tape is from a school play that one of my kids was in like 25 years
You're a
ago.
great mom.
And the DVD, it's been broken for all this time.
Of course it
So
is,
it does
right.
raise the question, why don't I remove the tape?
That's a
it's
very
an
good
excellent
point.
question.
That's a great question.
But it's all there with the broken DVD
Fabulous.
player right on top of it, and then the...
Just put a piece of tape on the DVD. It'll be fine. I'm sorry, Judge. You wanted to say
You'd
something.
be right at home in Brooklyn, where they just opened a video store this year.
Yeah.
So it's
They
all
did,
coming
really?
back. They did.
Wow.
It's very observant of Zoe to see the broken...
Jamie, too. They joined forces on that
did
one.
Jamie see
They
it
did,
too?
yeah.
It was there. It's
appalled.
true. Okay, we're going to talk to Jared Bowen some more after this quick break. You're listening to GBH at the Boston
Whatever it
Public
is.
Library, streaming at youtube.com/GBH News.
If you listen to Boston Public Radio 3 hours a day, that's 15 hours a week, 60 hours a month, and 720 hours a year. Maybe it's time you pitched in. Call 888 888-897-9424 or give online at gbhnews.org.
Okay, I got to read this one first. Sharon in North Kingston. And by the way, the reason I'm reading this one is not just because it feels good, because we've said this about radio shows we love before we are in radio, talk shows. I feel like Jim and Marjorie are my best friends, says Sharon in North Kingstown. They bring in interesting voices, to me, like Jared Bowen.
There you go.
So there you go.
Yeah, well, radio is a very intimate medium.
It is.
Unlike television or newspapers.
It's not as intimate as a VHS stuck in your VHS player for 25 years.
No, it wasn't a VHS.
Whatever.
Yeah, no, it was. It was a
Sure
VHS.
it was.
It was a VHS.
Okay, it's fine.
It's very embarrassing. I
Now,
should have
how about
removed
that
it
match?
before the soiree?
How about the match?
The match. The match is going
What
on
is
right
going
now.
on
That
with
means
that?
you can double your money right now.
You can, that's correct.
And, I say this, and Jim poo-poos it, but it's
No.
really true. It's important to us to make the most money during our show. Sorry, Jared. We want to make the most money during our show for the pledge. And this is your opportunity.
See, I've been keeping silent, but now I'll talk. You can give during the culture show, too.
You can give during the culture
It's
show,
just a
but
fun
give
little
more.
race.
Give more during
very
BPR.
selfish,
We have an hour
Marjorie.
and 15 minutes left in our show, so you've been hesitating. We have somebody who's been hesitating. This person says, I've been listening for decades. No, that's not the one. Who's the person that said,
I don't know.
This is my first time donating, says Jennifer from Charlestown. Listen to you almost every day, had to donate today, and would hate to lose listening to Jim and Marjorie. So there you go. This is the first time person who's been donating for years. And if you have been donating been listening for years, and you haven't even given a dollar, I think you have to look at yourself and saying, what's going on there? I mean, come on. 888-897-9424, gbhnews.org.
We should make Jennifer from Charlestown feel better. I don't know if we're supposed to say this.
Yeah.
She says, I had to donate today, would hate to lose listening to Jim and Marjorie. They have told us only one of us is going to lose our job. So it isn't like you won't be able to listen to one of us. It's not like we'll both. So again, there's a match for this hour.
Yeah.
I don't think we need. It's the best time to give because every single dollar you give is matched, doubled by a kind donor to this station. And I assume you listen to the station a lot. Generally, people don't change it a lot. We have wonderful colleagues on air. We have wonderful colleagues on our show and other shows behind the scene. If you care about that, if you'd like a little taste of Rick Steves and have $12.50 a month, perfect time to donate. You do it by going to 888-897-9424, gbhnews.org. Read one more comment, Marjorie. We have 20 seconds. Go ahead.
Okay. Now the federal government, this is Joanne from Lakefield, now the federal government has bowed out. It's up to us to support public broadcasting. This is one of the most crucial sources of actual news and important community-based information we have in the United States of America. Thank you, Joanne from Lakefield. Very impressive.
Welcome back to BPR on wherever we are, on 89.7, and you can also be checking us out on, we're streaming youtube.com/GBH News. We're continuing our discussion with Jared Bowen, who will be here with his colleagues live for the Culture Show in an hour and 15 minutes.
Okay, tell us about Police State and Pussy Riot.
So I just had Nadia Tolokonnikova on the show yesterday, and she is the creator of Pussy Riot, which I think my first question to her was actually to define it, because I think a lot of people just think that they're a band, but it's actually an art movement that she has created a number of years ago to push back against the Putin regime when he announced his latest campaign for presidency or for leadership of Russia. And we know how that ended, in that she ended up in jail for 2 years in a penal colony, having to be in this confined jail cell, sewing uniforms, for 8 hours a day. She was released, and Pussy Riot continues. And so now, as I said, it's a collective that is embracing anybody who wants to join. You can buy your own paraphernalia from her website, which of course fuels the cause. But she has an interesting moment right now in that two interesting moments. One is incredibly unfortunate, which is just Monday, the officials in Russia declared Pussy Riot to be an extremist organization, which means that anybody who even Googles Pussy Riot in Russia or around the world, frankly, is considered compliant in this extremist organization, and Russian officials would go after them. So this is the aura that she has to live under. This is the atmosphere that she has to live under. She's also been creating this installation called Police State. And it's an installation in which she has recreated her jail cell in Russia, but modified it slightly. She's taken artworks from prisoners who are still held in Russia. She's placed those within the jail cell. It's an installation. It's a piece of performance art. So she's in this jail cell, either sleeping or creating uniforms, police uniforms, which is what she had to create when she was in Russia, although she's modifying it with her own cheeky statements and acknowledgments. And she's also produced a book out of this because when she presented this at MoCA in Los Angeles, the Contemporary Art Museum, that was just the moment that the National Guard and ICE were descending in Los Angeles, and the museum was closed and her exhibition was fundamentally shut down because people couldn't access the museum. So here you have an artist commenting on the restriction of rights and free speech in Russia, in Los Angeles, as the National Guard and ICE are descending.
God.
Where's she live now?
She doesn't talk about that.
Yeah, she doesn't return to Russia, does she?
She can't now.
I mean, the courage.
The courage. Is
She has extreme courage because we know that we know of the poisonings that have happened. Alexei Navalny was a good friend of hers, and after his death last year, that fueled her, that is, to step forward and push forward and be even more amplified with her voice in a bigger way. So she knows that she, especially as she travels around the world with these installations, she's not just doing it in the United States, that she is at risk of attacks. We saw what happened in London, where they walk up and poison people and they end up dead.
She's a young woman, too.
She's in her 30s now.
Yeah.
But it's a great point, Marjorie, because when you do the math and you realize at what age she started doing this, she was so young but never intimidated, just kept going and going and going, knowing the risk of imprisonment, knowing the risk of worse, and now she's doing this from afar.
You know, it's really helpful to me to see in the flesh, like your interview with her, and I'm sure the show is fabulous, the face of resistance. You mentioned Navalny. We've said this on the air many times. I think it was a CNN documentary on Navalny.
It's great.
Was really one of the most wonderful things about this huge spirit. Talk about courage, and obviously we know what Putin did to him, but it's terrific, and you should check it out. And speaking of films, there's nothing I like a political thriller. I watched the trailer this morning, and the trailer is spectacular. The Secret Agent, tell us about it.
Yeah, this is another terrific film. It just got 3 Golden Globe nominations, including Picture, Actor, and for the non-English language Best Motion Picture category. I just saw this at the Coolidge this weekend. I was really lucky because the director was there as well. And it's a great piece of cinema because it takes us to the 1970s in Brazil. It's under a military dictatorship, Brazil is at that time. And we find this man played by Wagner Moura, who people might also know from Narcos. I think he's got a lock for an Oscar nomination for this. And we come to understand that he's a university professor who is in hiding because he has done something to offend the regime in Brazil. But the way this is told, it is a thriller, but it's also a comedy, and it's also dazzling in terms of its colors. For instance, this is how the whole film begins, where he drives up in his yellow Volkswagen Beetle, again in 1977, and there's a gas station, just one man manning it, and there's a dead body on the ground.
Under a cardboard or something,
Under a cardboard,
right?
and he's told that the body's been there for a few days because the police just aren't coming, until the police do arrive, have no interest in the body, but have an interest in extorting him. So this is kind of the quote-unquote comedy that he finds himself in. And we get these different characters introduced to us and these different scenarios and layers, and then slowly it's almost as if pieces of paper are slipping on top of one another until you have an entire novel before you and you put the entire thing together and you realize what's happening. It's really a masterful work in terms of filmmaking.
I don't want to preempt what you're probably doing in your show. Do you have a couple of films? You don't have to tell me what's number. Are there 2 or 3 films you'd recommend to people at the end of the year that were spectacular in 2025? What'd you love?
Well, I did love it. Well, these 2 especially, Hamnet and The Secret Agent. I just watched Sinners recently.
I haven't seen it.
Oh, people have raved about that.
I thought was fantastic. We're getting thumbs up over here. Yeah, Sinners it takes you into another world, another realm, and just like The Secret Agent, it's a parable for another time because there is another. There's a supernatural element to it, but which you can totally tie to the Jim Crow era here in the South, and the division and the toxicity that has been ingested into society, and that how that filters through. But then there are just wild moments, wild explosive moments in that film too. The other one I just watched was Frankenstein, and while I thought it was an okay film, I thought Jacob Elordi as the monster. That's a great performance.
You know, is Jared not coming back because of Pledge, Jamie? Is that what's happening here? He's not.
Do you want to tell us what's going on?
Okay, so tell us in 30 seconds what you're doing.
Today is our latest Wednesday watch party. So Callie and Edgar will be here, and we are talking all things A Christmas Carol. So
wonderful.
Usually we pick one
version?
film. Any version you want to talk
about. Oh, that's great.
So we should start with you both. Do you both have a favorite version of A Christmas Carol?
I think the Robert De Niro version was the one that I really...
That is not.
Was he not in one?
That's not a thing.
You know,
I don't know.
I've seen the performance of it live, like a play of it, more than I've
What's
seen
the really
movie.
ancient one that's really one of the really early ones? Who's the?
Well, one of the really early ones is 1938.
No.
Who's in
the
that?
star of that?
Reginald Owen.
No, I never.
Okay, how many have there been?
There have been more than 400 film adaptations of A Christmas Carol.
I
my
can answer.
God.
The 73rd was my favorite. I love. Marjorie and I saw that together. I think online. I love that segment, by the way. That is a fabulous
Thank you,
show.
Jared.
Jared, we'll see you later. Jared and his colleagues at 2:00.
We have been speaking with GBH Executive Arts Editor Jared Bowen, host of The Culture Show. They are live at the Library Chain, as Jared just said. This is their movie watch party. Which version of The Christmas Carol is your favorite? God, there are 400 of them. They'll go through them all, one by one. Thanks, Jared. Coming up after the 1 o'clock news, State Auditor Diana DiZoglio on her newest efforts to get to audit the legislature. We'll see how that is going. I'm Marjorie Egan. He's Jim Browdy, listening to BPR 89.7 GBH live from the BPL, streaming at youtube.com/GBH News.
And you're listening to Boston Public Radio here on GBH 89.7, gbhnews.org, or 888-897-9424. I'm Zach Finn, and I'm here with Sonia Lee.
And this is the one-day drive, and Jim and Marjorie got another hour, but if you want to support them and have your contribution doubled, this is it. We're down to just about 5.5 minutes left in the only dollar-for-dollar match during Boston Public Radio, the last one of the year. And so your contribution right now is going to go twice as far. Give $50, give $1,000, anything in between. It is going to be doubled and count towards BPR. So don't miss the opportunity. Now about 5 minutes to go. gbhnews.org, 888-897-9424.
And we got a great opportunity for you today. You could show your love for GBH. We're going to thank you with something really special. It is a ticket to a virtual European wine tasting with expert traveler and author Rick Steves and a professional sommelier. How cool is that? It is a limited offer only for today. So that brings you 6 small bottles of wine, plenty for 2 people to share, and it is shipped right to your door. Don't put on the boots and the coat. It's all right there for you. Sign up as a sustaining member, $12.50 a month, or you can do $150 all at once. gbhnews.org or 888-897-9424.
Have you relied on Jim and Marjorie and Boston Public Radio for insight into what's happening across our region and here in Boston? If so, well, we ask you to help keep that going in the new year. This is a unique program, and it is one that we cannot, we can't sustain it without the help from our listeners. And especially with the loss of our federal funding, it is even a more important time to give and support Boston Public Radio. The new year is coming. We ask you to give now and help fund BPR in the year ahead. You can give easily, gbhnews.org or 888-897-9424.
And maybe you've kind of been on the fence about giving. Well, right now is the moment, because you can double the buying power of your contribution thanks to a very generous group of Beacon Circle patrons. You give $5 a month. They donate the annual value of $60 to GBH. Maybe you want to give $15 a month. Well, that's going to go ahead and turn into $360 to help pay for Boston Public Radio. One-time gifts are also matched, but the dollar-for-dollar match is really going on. Here, we got about 3 minutes left. 888-897-9424.
And in those 3 minutes, 15 contributions. Need 15 contributions in those 3 minutes to keep on track. And every one of those gifts will be doubled right now thanks to the dollar-for-dollar match. So this is your opportunity to have that gift go a little bit further and help us to keep on track for the one-day membership drive. gbhnews.org. Now 13 more people to give in these next 3 minutes. 888-897-9424.
And GBH, well, it's listener supported. That means we're here because you want us here. So this membership drive, it's an important reminder to do your part and make that contribution to radio you not only listen to, but radio you trust and radio you truly believe in. gbhnews.org or give us a call. 888-897-9424.
And this is the time to get your ticket to the virtual European wine tasting with expert traveler and author Rick Steves and a professional sommelier. You'll also be joined by other fans of GBH. And this is $12.50 a month, a one-time gift of $150. And we'll set you up with the virtual wine tasting. We're going to send you an email with everything you need to know, the Zoom link, plus all these delicious wines, 6 small bottles delivered to your door. gbhnews.org, 888-897-9424.
And you've been listening all year to GBH, so I'm asking you, please, take those 2 minutes and make that end-of-year contribution. All we need is a little bit of contact information, and, whether you want to give online, over the phone, all gifts are welcome, and they're going to ensure that GBH is here for you in the new year. gbhnews.org or 888-897-9424.
All righty, this is it. We got a $1 match. We got about 2 minutes left. This is your last and only opportunity here in the one-day drive, and the only and the last chance in 2025 to have your contribution go twice as far to support Boston Public Radio. And if you want to get the wine tasting and get that gift doubled in support of BPR, this is the time to do it. gbhnews.org, 888-897-9424.
Support for GBH comes from you.
And the trustees, presenting Winter Lights, a celebration of seasonal sparkle with light displays in Stockbridge and Canton, Massachusetts, running Wednesday through Sunday nights through early January. Advance tickets required. More at thetrustees.org/winterlights. And Standish Village in Dorchester's Lower Mills, providing assisted living residents with programs designed to help seniors stay sharp, social, and independent. Learn more at standishvillage.com/programs.
You're listening to 89.7 WGBH HD1 Boston. Online at gbhnews.org. GBH News. What matters to you?
I'm Jim Browdy, ahead on the third hour, BPR live from the library. While State Auditor Diana DiZoglio's effort to audit the legislature still has not happened, despite the voters' overwhelming will, she's launching a new ballot question that would subject both the legislature and the governor's office to state public records laws. What would that mean? She joins us to explain.
I'm Marjorie Egan. Then, per Jim directive, it's BPR moldy chestnut season. Again, today's tired topic, real Christmas tree or fake tree. With fake trees technology at its peak, do you feel the need to haul a bug-infested Fraser fir into your home? What's your stance on this much debated annual issue? Weigh in for the 500th time next on the third hour of BPR 89.7 GBH, live from the Boston Public Library.
Live from NPR News in Washington, I'm Windsor Johnston. Nick Reiner, the son of slain Hollywood director Rob Reiner, made his first court appearance in Los Angeles today. He's facing 2 counts of first-degree murder for the deaths of his parents. Defense attorney Alan Jackson spoke outside of the courthouse just a short time ago.
We ask that you allow the system to move forward in the way that it was designed to move forward, not with a rush to judgment, not with jumping to conclusions, but with restraint and with dignity and with the respect that this system and this process deserves and that the family deserves.
Rob Reiner and his wife Michelle were found dead inside their Brentwood home on Sunday. If convicted, Nick Reiner is facing a possible sentence of life in prison without parole or the death penalty. The next court date has been scheduled for January 7th. President Trump is expanding a travel ban. It adds more countries to a blacklist, making it harder or even impossible for their citizens to come to the U.S. NPR's Michelle Kellerman reports on the administration's efforts to restrict travel and immigration.
Earlier this year, Trump named 12 high-risk countries banning or restricting their nationals from coming to the U.S. Now 5 more countries are being added to the list: Burkina Faso, Mali, Niger, South Sudan, and Syria. According to a White House proclamation, the administration is also banning anyone holding documents issued by the Palestinian Authority. It's also imposing partial restrictions on 15 other countries, including Senegal and Cote d'Ivoire, whose teams will be playing in the World Cup next year. The White House says there are carve-outs for athletes and diplomats or individuals whose entry, quote, serves U.S. national interests. Michelle Kellerman, NPR News, Washington.
Police in Australia have formally charged the surviving suspect in the shooting attack on Bondi Beach in Sydney last weekend. Christina Kukula reports the man earlier identified as Naveed Akram appeared in court by video link from his hospital bed.
Police say they have formally charged the 24-year-old with 59 offences, including committing a terrorist act and 15 counts of murder. The charges were filed after Akram woke up from a coma in hospital where he's being treated for injuries. Police allege he's one of 2 gunmen responsible for the shooting attack that killed at least 15 people and injured dozens more last weekend. Authorities confirmed the other suspect, his 50-year-old father Sajid Akram, was killed in a shootout with police. They say early indications point to a terrorist act inspired by the Islamic State group. For NPR News, I'm Christina Kukula in Sydney.
On Wall Street, the Dow is down 75 points. This is NPR News in Washington.
Good afternoon. From the GBH Radio Newsroom in Boston, I'm Henry Santoro. Local synagogues are increasing security following that mass shooting at a Jewish holiday celebration in Australia over the weekend. In Hyannis, Barnstable police patrolled outside the Cape Cod Synagogue during a recent event celebrating Hanukkah. Rabbi David Freeland says that they've had to hire an armed guard for all events since the Tree of Life shooting in Pittsburgh back in 2018, and they've had a locked door policy ever since.
But people come, and one of the ongoing messages of our faith is that we are not going to give in, that especially at this time of year, we are shining a light against the darkness.
As we heard, NPR reported that at least 15 people were killed in the Sydney shooting. Massachusetts towns are increasingly pushing back on proposals to build large battery energy storage systems, or BESS facilities, which are meant to help make energy from solar and wind energy projects easier to use. Boston Business Journal reports that the town of Blandford, located west of Springfield, is the latest to push back. The community of about 1,000 residents plan to review and adapt its bylaws in coming months for the influx of large solar and BESS proposals that it's been getting. Last month, residents voted in favor of a temporary moratorium on such projects. In sports, professional women's hockey, the Boston Fleet are in New York tonight. In forecast, sun, clouds, mid-40s today, clear and upper 20s tonight. We could see 50 degrees tomorrow, and we could see 60 on Friday, but it's going to rain as well. 45 in Boston, this is GBH News.
Support for NPR comes from NPR stations. Other contributors include Capital One, offering their dining and entertainment card, Savor. What's in your wallet? Terms apply. Details at CapitalOne.com. And listeners like you who donate to this NPR station.
Welcome to hour number 3 of Boston Public Radio. Jim Brady, Marjorie Egan. This is live from the Boston Public Library, streaming at youtube.com/GBH News. I want to mention that the governor is going to be with us on 2 days before Christmas, December 23rd. She'll be here at the library from 11 until noon, taking our questions and yours. Hello again, Jim.
Hey, and a reminder, the Culture Show starts live at the library at 2 o'clock. So don't go away, and if you're into the Culture Show and are not here now, come on down. Joined now at the library desk by Massachusetts State Auditor Diana DiZoglio. Auditor, it's good to see you. Welcome.
Great to see you again.
Well, Auditor, I must say, I feel like a broken record sometimes, because I'm always asking you the same question since the voters voted you out of the legislature way back in 2024. It's still not happened. Where are we?
So we are at a point right now where we are battling, essentially, unfortunately, pretty much everyone on Beacon Hill, where these folks are my colleagues, most on the Democratic side, unfortunately. It pains me to say that. But folks have essentially, and I do use this word, it's a pretty strong word, but it's a word that's necessary to use this in this particular instance. They've conspired with each other to break the law. They have conspired with each other to break the law. 72% of the voting population in Massachusetts voted for an audit of the legislature by the Office of State Auditor. It was very clear that they had already been contracting out with a private firm, an audit firm that they could control, limit their access to what was able to be reviewed, and then released to the general public. We let folks know that was what was happening. We said, look, we want the Office of State Auditor to be able to conduct an independent review. Our audits are much more robust, they're much more comprehensive. We are able to go in and get access to the documents, even those that they don't want voters to see, taxpayers to see, and to produce a report that's consistent with government auditing standards like we do for every other state entity in Massachusetts. Voters said yes to that, but yet the Speaker and Senate President have vehemently pushed back upon that. We've asked them to ask the SJC for an opinion, which they have the legal authority to do, but the Speaker has said, well, he has his opinion already. Why would he consult with the SJC? Senate President has pushed back and essentially said, that she thinks this is unconstitutional and that she's not going to obey the law. And unfortunately, the Attorney General, who often comes on this show, has been actually blaming my office for her inaction on this issue, stating falsehoods that we have not provided necessary information to be able to get this lawsuit completed to sue the legislature into compliance. Just to wrap that up, Jim, just so we can have a full synopsis regarding that last issue. I know I listen to the show very often.
Why wouldn't
most
you?
people do. Best show ever, right?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Of course. But friends, I've heard the remarks that have been said on this show by my colleague, the Attorney General. And I have to say how unbelievably disappointed I am that even though the Attorney General has been invited to come on this show alongside of me to discuss, that she refuses to come on this show with me. This is a matter of great public interest that folks want to hear about. They want to learn about this. They want to know what's going on. They want to hear why we haven't sued the legislature yet. I have put out all of our communications regarding this issue and waived attorney-client privilege. I gave GBH all of those documents first when I came on this show. And I have even called on the Attorney General to sue me, to get the documents and the information that she alleges that I have not provided her with. Because for anyone to continue to say that they cannot do their job because someone else is obstructing justice or they're not giving necessary information over, that's unacceptable. It's the Attorney General's job to enforce the law, and if she can't enforce the law because she says she needs more information, then she needs to sue me to get access to that information so that this law can get enforced and we can all go to court and get this matter resolved, and so that this audit can happen.
A couple of things. I wasn't aware that the Senate President Spilka said it was unconstitutional. I should say we have asked the Attorney General when she's been here if she agrees that at least some of your requests to audit are constitutionally permissible, and she has said explicitly, yes, they are. Doesn't mean they all would be, but if Senator Spilka or staff are listening, the Attorney General has already spoken to that issue.
And let me just
Even though
say
she hasn't done what you want, which is represent you, and we should make clear, you can't sue the legislature unless the Attorney General agrees to represent you. But again, the Attorney General has said at least some of the requests you forward to her office are constitutionally permissible.
Right, and here's what I'll say. There's a lot of misinformation being spread right now by folks at the State House, their friends, their supporters of the status quo, who are telling folks that our office is crossing the line somehow in requesting information that our office has no business reviewing. That is inaccurate. I've read different posts and blogs and people trying to, insert themselves into this, essentially saying, that we're trying to look at internal legislative process and procedures. Friends, we have only requested, if anybody ever says that to you, this is what you let them know. We've only requested, and this is documented, financial documents such as receipts and state contracting and procurement documents. Those are all administrative in nature. Those are business records. Those are taxpayer-funded documents that will give us insight into how the legislature is spending our taxpayer dollars. We have not attempted to delve into any legislative proceedings or anything of that nature. So when you hear that, just know, that's a false argument.
Well, so the attorney, if there's something you're asking for, the Attorney General thinks is on a constitutional request, then she can say, I'm not going to support that request. So I hate to say these words when 72% of the public has spoken. It's pretty clear to me they're never going to comply with this, and it's unlikely that the Attorney General is going to represent you. So you apparently have adopted an alternative ballot strategy. What are you doing exactly?
So we are suing. We're planning to sue. We've been working together with legal counsel at no charge to the taxpayers, who is working to get a complaint together to file, whether it's against the AG for abdicating her responsibilities in allowing us to proceed to court, or whether it's suing the legislature. That legal firm is working on that as we speak, alongside of pursuing litigation, even though the Attorney General says she's going to try to have it dismissed from court. We are going to be bringing to the ballot a measure that would increase access to public records here in the state of Massachusetts. Friends, Massachusetts is frequently, no news to this group, ranked as the least transparent state government in the entire nation. We rank dead last according to most good government groups. We are the only state in the nation where the governor's office, the legislature, the judiciary all claim exemptions from the state's Freedom of Information Act, the state's public records law. We are one of only 2 states in the entire nation in which the governor's office and legislature both claim these exemptions. Jim, I just had someone from the Michigan Press Association reach out to me the other day, and they are the other state where the governor's office and the legislature exempt themselves. And they said essentially, what's going on there? You're doing a ballot question. We need to do this in Michigan. We are sadly your sister state in being ranked really low on the scale in terms of transparency. Friends, it's not okay that Massachusetts leads in so many different ways, and we should be proud of those different ways that we lead, but yet we allow ourselves to continue to rank dead last in terms of transparency. We allow our elected leaders to get together behind closed doors, not tell us what they're doing till after decisions have already been made, and then we as the taxpayers suffer the consequences. We deserve for business to be done in the sunlight, with the doors open, inviting people to sit at the table. This is what's supposed to be the democratic process right now. But the way that State House is being governed is as though it is in the legislature like an authoritarian regime, where you have just a handful, less than a handful, of very powerful people making all of the decisions, demanding that everybody else kowtow to what they say and do, or else they're retaliated against, and allow them to hide public records from the public, allow them to hide literally just basic receipts from taxpayers in the millions and millions of dollars.
Well, elaborate on this new effort that you're making to try to get around this standoff.
So we went out and collected over 75,000 signatures to get this issue on the ballot, thanks to every single person who signed to make sure that this appears on the ballot in November. We still have to cross another hurdle in the spring, so stay tuned for that and collect I believe it's over 12,000 additional signatures to make sure it appears. But friends, if this measure were to pass, all the things that I've been requesting for the audit that they refuse to participate in would actually just be made available directly to you, the voters of Massachusetts. You, every single resident of this Commonwealth, would be able to call the State House, email the State House, contact their state rep, contact their senator, contact the governor's office, and ask for the public records that you would like to see, whether that's state contracting information, procurement documents, emails about those procurements, something that you might be interested in what's going on at the State House that you pay for in these governing bodies that you fund with your taxpayer dollars. You'll be able to get access to those documents. And I want to talk about, just for a second, about how much of an outlier the governor's office and legislature truly are.
Can you hold that for a second until we take a break? Before we take a break, though, if people want to find out about this newest ballot question, and by the way, for people to understand, you've collected the first round of signatures. The only thing that keeps you from getting on the ballot next year is a smaller number of signatures next year, and then they'd be before the voters. How do people find out online about this question?
So go to DiZoglio.com/ballot initiative, Diana4MA/ballot, and you will be able to find that information.
Great, we'll continue this in a second.
Okay, we will continue this right after a quick break. You're listening to Boston Public Radio, broadcasting live from the Boston Public Library, streaming at youtube.com/GBH News. Quick pledge break, and then we'll be right back.
This is Boston Public Radio on GBH, and right now we're in the midst of a one-day membership drive. Today only, we're taking a little time to ask for your support for everything you hear on this station. If you have yet to give, please make your contribution now. We count on listener contributions to keep the quality local reporting, insightful interviews, and conversations that matter to you on the air in the months ahead. So if you can, please make a gift of support now by calling 888-897-9424 or by giving online at gbhnews.org.
Here's Janice from South Royalton. You want to read? She's the second comment on the new sheet. Read what she said, Marjorie.
I am donating to give Marjorie the credit for my gift. Thank you very much, Janice. I mentioned that we like to get credit between 11 and 2, and we are now the 1 o'clock hour, so you only have 40 minutes left. And Janice, thank you very much for getting with the program so we can beat all our colleagues and raising money for GBH here. 888-897-9424, gbhnews.org.
This is pretty good. Michelle in Foxborough. I've been listening for years and was very uninformed and no longer that, thanks to you. That is really nice. And by the way, a ton of these, Stephen and JP, you guys rock and are fair, on and on. I mean, a friend in Hampton, Marjorie and Jim, of course, the Culture Show, of course, so many other programs. GBH is the creme de la creme. Well, if you want the creme de la creme to continue as is and expand, here's your opportunity to contribute to that by calling 888-897-9424, gbhnews.org. Everybody knows the feds have cut all funding to CPB, Corporation for Public Broadcasting, NPR and PBS through suffering. We suffer less than obviously some of the smaller stations, but there have been cutbacks here. And the way to prevent that is by making a contribution. And the beauty of a contribution today is for $12.50 a month, you get one of the best, what Marjorie calls enticements, thank you gifts, which is $12.50 a month. You get Rick Steves and a sommelier doing a virtual wine tasting. They send 6 small bottles. I don't like when they say small. They're not full bottles of wine, but they sure as hell aren't tiny.
You can drink more than a whole bottle of wine with this arrival.
Oh, no question. 6 small bottles of wine come to your house, and you have a sommelier explaining all you want to know about wine and answering questions and that sort of stuff. And Rick Steves, who's one of the finest storytellers on the planet, talking about his travels, his politics, his whatever. It's a fabulous thing for you or for a gift for somebody around Christmas time. 888-897-9424, gbhnews.org.
You know what's interesting when you read the comments from people? And many people feel under siege. You know, they feel this is a very, very dark time, and they get a little relief from that. And sometimes they like, some of the lighter stuff that we do. But, Karen from East Falmouth is talking about the need for a free radio and press and programming essential to the democracy. And that's why she wants to support on-air and live reporting, including us. I mean, we're not reporters, but we do, talk to reporters, and we do talk about the issues of the day. There seems to be an overall sense that people do feel this is not a great time, and it's more important to have public broadcasting than ever, which I, of course, agree with. The number here is 888-897-9424, gbhnews.org. Sarah from North Attleboro says, I value public radio and feel it is my duty to support you guys during this time of defunding. So thank you very much for that. And Joanna from Cambridge loves Boston Public Radio. I listen as often as I can. And a lot of people are talking about putting in their earbuds and just listening to us around the house as they get their work done, cleaning up and doing the dishes, whatever they're doing.
I mean, I'm just thinking, as you say, I'm looking at Diana DiZoglio. The auditor's here to explain what's going on a question that 72% of you supported. The mayor was here yesterday. The governor's here next Tuesday. The UN High Commissioner for Human Rights joined us at 11 o'clock today. I would listen to the show. I mean, it's really, I hope it's of value.
I hope you listen.
Our colleagues, I don't listen, but I would listen.
Okay.
I hope you consider our colleagues as worthy of your time and money, too. And if you do, you call 888-897-9424, gbhnews.org. Welcome back to BPR. Jim Browdy and Marjorie Egan. We're live at the library, streaming at youtube.com/gbhnews. Jarrett and company come to the library live at 2. We're continuing our conversation with the Auditor of the Commonwealth, Diana DiZoglio.
Auditor, you were in the middle of explaining this new effort to get a different ballot. Are you done, or is there more we need to know?
Thank you for asking. I just wanted to just wrap up what I was about to say before the break, which was just essentially talking about how the governor's office and legislature are incredible outliers in terms of their exemption from the public records law here in Massachusetts. Friends, every state agency in the Commonwealth is subject to public records. My office is subject to the public records law. every city in town, wherever you live, think about the community that you live in, your town hall, your city hall, your city council, your school committee, those folks are subject to the public records law. They're also subject to the open meeting law, meaning any conversations that they have in groups have to be made public so that you can see what they're talking about even. So this is really something that we're trying to pass to help to create some parity, making sure that the laws that the governor, that the legislature are imposing essentially on all these other entities, that they're actually following these laws themselves and not exempting themselves from the same laws that they require the rest of government to follow. And these are some good laws, and these are some good and decent reforms. Why shouldn't taxpayers in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts and every resident have access to information about how business is being conducted on behalf of the people?
Okay, so I am a voter, not me, but a voter in Massachusetts who voted for the last question. I support this question. I'd like to volunteer, but I say, well, wait a second. I put all this work into, what was the question?
Question one.
Question one, it passed 72 to 20, whatever.
72.
72%.
I mean, it's huge.
And it's still not, it's law, but not implemented. So, Diana DiZoglio, if I'm to work on this question, why should I believe that the same legislature that's thwarting the existing law is not just going to ignore or repeal the law the voters pass if they do next November? What's the answer?
Look, they're already fighting us on this particular question. The Senate president, though she stated otherwise on television about a week or two ago on Channel 5 during an on-the-record interview, and she stated that she hadn't even seen this question, she hadn't looked at it at all. They actually, months ago, the Senate President's office, on behalf of Senate President Spilka, sent the Attorney General a 13-page-ish opposition piece, legal opposition piece to this new question.
The question she hasn't seen.
The question that she allegedly hasn't seen, according to her interview. But I don't think that Madam President was aware that this document was required to be filed with the Secretary of State's office. So that's how we actually got access to this.
But you're not answering the question. Why aren't they just going to, if they don't give a damn about question one, why are they not going to repeal this?
I'm getting there.
Okay.
They are going to try to. They're already fighting us. So the answer is they're already trying. But friends, we cannot give up. We cannot just roll over and just say, it's too hard. Let the people who are undermining democracy run the state of Massachusetts. Let the authoritarian regime of the state legislature win because it's too hard and they're going to fight back. No, we need to get stronger. We need to stand up even more. We need to double down, not water down our efforts. And we cannot give up. You know, a lot of this, Jim, is about outlasting the opposition. Is about just being tougher than the opposition and being able to take the hits that come at you, because the hits come. Look, all last year, what was it? All last year and the year before. How many people came on the show and debated the issue of auditing the legislature? How many people said it's unconstitutional? They'll never do this. They can't do this. This is ridiculous. Don't they know who they're up against? Yeah, it's hard. It's hard as hell. But the reality is that if we just give up, they win. And I don't think the everyday working people of Massachusetts want two people, the Senate President and the Speaker, running the entire state, telling us how to live our lives, disobeying the same laws they require everybody else to follow, and undermining democracy. We see that happening at the federal level, not in Massachusetts, not on our watch. We need to stand up and fight back. Don't give up.
So, go ahead, Marjorie.
I was just going to say, so what do you think is really going on here? That the legislators are ticked off at you for being this upstart who's calling them to heel on this, or that they have some momentous thing they're trying to cover up? And we know.
Can I answer instead of the auditor?
Certainly.
Why is Pete Hegseth not releasing the second strike video?
Because there's something that he doesn't want people to see.
So you answer your own question. Why is the legislature refusing the law that requires them to be audited?
Well, that would be one of my options if you were doing 1, 2, or 3. But I think they also don't like you, Diana DiZoglio, for giving them a hard time over this.
Yeah, there are a couple of people at the top, especially, who don't like me personally.
Yeah.
I think that they need to put their personal differences with me aside. It's one of those things where, look, it's like every workplace, right? Does everybody love each other? Does everybody go out for drinks afterwards? Certainly not. But you learn to engage in a professional manner. You learn to get the job done that's before you. You know, it has not been easy being essentially the hall monitor up on Beacon Hill, okay? Because that's how they look at you. And when I walk down the hall, sometimes I feel like some of my colleagues in the legislature look at me and it's like, dum, 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 here she comes, you know? And it is challenging to deal with that, right? These are folks that I worked with for 10 years. I served in the legislature.
For those who don't know, right?
You know, so some of these folks, you know, I worked with them for 6 years in the House of Representatives as an elected state representative. I was then a senator for 4 years working with these folks. And now, I have to tell you, Marjorie, in most circumstances, yes, some don't like me. And some are very clear about the fact that they just don't like me. Okay, fine. But a lot of these folks are just scared. A lot of them are scared. A lot of them have had, you know, a personal relationship with me, professionally speaking, of course, you know, through the years, where they are now looking at that and, you know, they feel like they're caught between a rock and a hard place, because if the Senate president or speaker sees them speaking to me or sees a photo of them on social media standing next to me at an event, they're going to get a call from the leadership team just completely reaming them out. And criticizing them and threatening them. How dare you talk to her? So, you know, it's more about the fear of retaliation up there than it is for personality differences and what have you.
Didn't the Democratic State Committee unanimously endorse this question? The question passed.
Question 1.
So what do you think they're hiding, Jim?
I have no idea. I mean, I have no idea, but I would assume that since this is the law, and since almost all of us agree sunlight is the best disinfectant, the only reason they don't want sunlight in is because they're afraid something's going to come out that's not going to look good.
About the legislature are often not very flattering, like the find that they get stipends to
well, that's public knowledge.
Well, it is, because reporting from the Globe and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I don't think we knew that until that happened.
Yeah, you're right.
Stipends for meetings that don't take place. I mean, that seems a little crazy.
What I'm concerned that they're hiding is issues pertaining to non-disclosure agreements that are taxpayer funded.
Which you obviously have a little bit of a history with.
Exactly. You know, they know that I know where to look on those things. I think that there might also be some challenges pertaining to the use of potentially no-bid contracts that, you know, maybe should have gone out to bid and didn't go out to bid. You know, the receipts and the contracts that we're asking for, again, folks, they're just financial in nature. So if that's what they're refusing to give my office, and that is what they're refusing, then that might be an area to think they might be hiding something.
Okay, so one more time, the websites, if people want to learn more about the question potentially on next year's ballot, is?
Diana4MA/ballot.
Diana4MA-/ballot.
DIANAFORMA/ballot.
.com. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, now as always, you're always kind enough. This is a transactional thing. She gets to come on. She sings. What are you going to sing for us ahead of Christmas, Diana DiZoglio?
So we've been talking a lot about shining a light on the dark areas of state government. This little light of mine, I'm going to let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Happy holidays, everyone.
Woo! And to you, Auditor.
Thank you very much, Diana DiZoglio, for coming in. We have been speaking with Massachusetts State Auditor Diana DiZoglio, and we thank her very much for her time. Coming up next, we're going to open the lines.
Oh, wait, do you have a real or, put your headphone back on, real or fake Christmas tree in your house?
I don't have a Christmas tree up yet, Jim. I do have a wreath. I have a wreath that's wrapped around my staircase and lit up. We're going to put up a tree in the next couple of days. This weekend, y'all. This weekend.
Real or fake?
It might be fake this year. It might be a little too late for a real one.
Okay, that's okay. Coming up next, and thank you very much, Diana DiZoglio, for being with us. She, of course, is the state auditor of Massachusetts. Okay, coming up, Jim just gave it a hint. We'll open the lines and get your thoughts once again on a BPR holiday chestnut of a topic. Jim insists on this: a real or fake Christmas tree. I'm Marjorie Egan. He's Jim Brown. You're listening to BPR 89.7 GBH live from the Boston Public Library and streaming, at youtube.com/GBH News.
Think about it. For 3 hours every day, you get to hear thought-provoking conversations on local, national, and international issues for free. It only happens with your support. So please support your Boston Public Radio listening by calling 888-897-9424 or giving online at gbhnews.org.
We appreciate very much people that listen to us, and we appreciate very much people who donate for what they hear, because we are on 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. We have a lot of great programming on this station every day and all weekend long. The culture show comes on after us. We have the national news, All Things Considered, morning edition, afternoon edition, all this great stuff on in the evening. So and then there's television as well. We do some of the great, best TV, I would argue, in the whole country. So anyway, that's what you're supporting here. If you have listened to a long time, if you have watched for a long time and you haven't given, maybe now is the time. It's right before Christmas plus. It's before our show is over. We have a half hour left in our show. And that means if you give before 2 o'clock, we get the credit here at Boston Public Radio. 888-897-9424, gbhnews.org.
And Marjorie has always left out the most important reason you listen. Where else do you get to call in and talk about real versus fake
I tell you,
Christmas
doesn't get
trees
any better
once
than that,
a year?
Jim. Yep.
If you support those kinds of conversations, you call 888-897-9424, go to gbhnews.org, contribute whatever you can. As Marjorie has said, $5, if that's all you have, that's great. You essentially belong at that point, or investing in the wonderful work our colleagues do here. If you can afford a lot more, do it. And if you can afford $12.50 a month, you get this fabulous virtual wine tasting with Rick Steves and a very talented sommelier. That is February 26th, a Thursday. Check it out, 888-897-9424, gbhnews.org.
Yeah.
Welcome back to whatever this is.
Hour number 3.
This is no, it's not hour number 3. It's hour 3.5, two and a half, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Okay.
You're right.
Okay, we're doing well today from beginning 10. I am Jim Browdy, and I am Marjorie Egan too. Live from the library, streaming at youtube.com/gbhs. We crunched the numbers this morning, and there apparently is only 1 week until Christmas, which means our days to force feed our BPR chestnuts to our listeners are numbered.
Yeah.
Now, regular listeners to the show will be familiar with the topics that stuff our stockings this year.
We've done these over and over and over. Okay, it's fake Christmas trees versus real Christmas trees. It's white lights versus colored lights.
We'll do that too.
What time to eat Christmas dinner? What a burning issue
How
that
about
is.
regifting, Marjorie? You forgot that. Holiday tipping, roasted vegetables.
Holiday music,
We're
holiday
going to do
movies.
them all.
I mean, it's like...
Now, as I was saying...
what else can you say about real versus fake Christmas trees?
Well, actually, it's interesting.
Said.
You should say this.
Like
9,000
times.
A real or fake Christmas trees came up at our morning meeting, Marjorie was the one singing a different tune, weren't you? Because you've had a bit of an epiphany, as it were, about the benefits, you say, of fake trees. Is that correct, yes or no?
Well, they may be more environmentally correct.
Right. So we're opening the phone lines from, it is like the 600th time, it's true,
it is.
About one of the stranger traditions of Christmas, taking a plant that's been grown happily in the earth for maybe 10 years, chopping it down, displaying its skeleton inside our homes. That's what I do. Some people, as Marjorie have learned, opt for the fake tree option. By the way, 73% of Americans, they should be ashamed, have fake trees.
Why should they be
Only
ashamed?
77%. 23 have live trees like me. I understand but because I care about... Well, I do care. Okay. I do care.
Why should they be ashamed? What are you doing that's so great by buying a real tree?
Well,
you have a buddy that you buy from every year.
Can I tell you what I did? I did last week.
And
Marjorie's a little jealous of this. I'm going to say this.
Okay.
And I'm going to get it out.
Yep.
Last week, I took the axe in my basement. I hitchhiked out to the suburbs. I got out of the Mass Pike, put my thumb up, got a ride, chopped down a tree.
Yes, and carried it home.
Carried the tree home on my back.
Okay.
Took hours, put it up. And by the way, a real tree, it's life. It's like existing in your midst. You
Jim,
water it.
What are
it
you
is
talking
real.
About?
It is great.
You're killing it. You chopped it down, and then you watch it die for the next week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks.
Do you know that we've been on the air 26 years? You've been in favor of live trees for 25 years, and all of a sudden you probably read one article and you've changed your position?
I still have a live tree.
Oh, you do? So
I
what are you talking about?
debate every year, do I... Smells better. The Fraser lasts longer. I love to go over and buy my tree. I've been buying it from the same place forever, just like you have. But the thing is,
You bought it at Boston's Christmas tree, our friends?
No, I bought it at Mahoney's in Brighton.
What is wrong with you? Oh, nothing wrong with the Mahoney's, but our good friends, Boston Christmas tree.
Well, after all these years, Jim, I've become very friendly with the guys over at, at Mahoney's in Brighton. And plus, they've expanded. They have an enormous, greenhouse.
Go to Boston Christmas tree.
It's
In
really
any case,
gorgeous.
877-301-8970, real versus fake tree. Marjorie is pretending like she doesn't care because she wants to be above the discussion.
Did you know this, Jim?
No, I didn't.
That we have been remiss all these years. You are supposed to wash your Christmas tree before you bring it into the house. Did you know that?
I did it this year.
Yeah, you are. You're supposed to let the tree rest in its stand outside. Now, you're not going to let the tree rest in its stand outside because it's hard enough to get the tree in its stand when it's inside.
Very good point.
So you're not going to go through that twice. But you're supposed to spray the tree from top to bottom on all sides with a hose to a gentle spray, and then let the tree dry thoroughly. Now, it's been 20 degrees overnight in Boston lately. So you're going to wash the tree with a hose, have it all freeze.
No, actually, you don't understand what you're talking about.
Yeah.
I washed the tree last night. Jamie came over and dried it and then brought it up to the second floor and put it in its stand. What's such a big deal?
Yeah.
He wasn't doing anything so important anyway.
Yeah, okay.
Here's an anonymous texter.
Yeah.
Real Christmas tree all day long. A fake one, this is so perfect, is like a blow-up doll.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Well, they make them now so that they look really real. You have to get really close to them before you realize that they're not real. And this one person in one of these stories says the reason they have fake trees is they put up 3 trees in their house.
Yeah.
One is 6 feet, one is 7 feet, one is the major Christmas tree. They put up all the best decorations. So they have trees all over their house. They keep them in the basement. Once you have that tree for more than 4 years, then you have surpassed the environmental advantage of a real tree.
Now, before we take calls, I want to read a really insulting text. This is Don in Hudson. Real or fake? Is this a real live on-air discussion or a tape of the 2015 discussion? That's for us
Don,
to know and for you not to find out,
Don, that's a very good point. I fought hard against this. I said we need to get some new Christmas ideas, but Jim insisted we do, once again, the fake tree versus the real tree.
Thank you.
And it's torture for everybody. That's true.
Well, apparently not for the callers.
In Onset, what do you think, Tim?
Hello, Tim.
All right. Are you guys there? Listen.
Yeah.
Tim, you're wrong on this.
Yeah.
He is.
You're wrong on this, and here's why.
Why?
About 25 years ago, we had a Christmas tree, real Christmas tree. My wife is allergic to the moss. I had to take the frickin' thing out on Christmas night and throw it in the big garbage can because she was sick as hell.
There you go.
Since then, we bought a fake Christmas tree with lights on it, and we have had that Christmas tree since then. However, the lights went out. I had to go on and clip every one of those knucklehead lights off, and we have to string our own lights on, but it's still the same fake Christmas tree. And everybody comes in our house and says, we love that. It looks so great.
Now, Tim, when you are saying the word fake, is there a little bit of embarrassment that you're saying it with such emphasis? There should be. Is there?
No, and the reason why is if I was embarrassed, then I would have to get a real tree and kill my wife. Why would I want to do that?
No, that is an exception I'm willing to tolerate. Tim, thank you for the call. Anonymous text says, now I have an image of Jamie outside Jim's house with a hairdryer drying off Jim's tree.
Poor Jamie.
It's exactly what he did.
It was
That's why you should have an image.
It was abuse. Exactly.
Okay, fine.
Now, apparently, if you do have severe allergies in a household member,
his wife, Tim's
this is
wife.
what you're supposed to do, but this is a pain in the neck. A mixture of 1 part bleach and 20 parts water to spray each branch and then to wipe down the trunk. Be sure to use gloves while handling the tree.
Excuse me, I have a question.
Who's going to do that?
What do you think of the smell of a fake tree, Marjorie? That's nice, isn't it?
I think it doesn't smell.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it doesn't smell.
And
But
what do you think of the smell of a live tree, a real
Jim?
tree?
Fraser firs don't smell after the first day you put them up.
You stick your head in it, they do.
That's why you have to get the fake spray from the tree places, so it could spray the tree or the candles that smell like balsam and fir and put them up around the house because they don't smell. The balsam smell for longer, but they don't generally last as long.
But they smell, and how nice is that to come in your house and smell the smell?
You don't get a balsam, you get a Fraser fir.
Whatever. Okay, so really, you're such a killjoy and so rude. Let's go to Linda in Cape Cod.
I'm rude.
You have 30 seconds, Linda.
Hi,
Take it away.
Linda.
Hi, Linda. What's up?
Hi, you two. I'm so glad you have this topic going on.
Thank you.
We got married in 2010.
That's great.
And we gave out little saplings, balsam saplings, as our gift to our guests.
Oh.
And I planted one in my yard. So we have a real live 10-foot, maybe 15-foot. It's just gotten like a monster.
Wow.
Outside our door, and we light it up. And then for inside, my whole life I've been doing real trees.
Sure
Some
you
of
have.
them were Charlie Brown trees.
Yes.
But now I have a pencil tree.
Oh.
I don't know if you've heard of those.
No, we have now.
And it's fake and it's really skinny. A dear friend of mine wanted one. So I bought her one.
Wow.
But when I bought it, somebody else had given her one. So I got stuck with a fake
Oh,
tree.
that's horrible.
So I light that up inside, and it's easy. It's pretty. It doesn't smell, but I can live without the smell. I
Okay,
can get a pine candle.
Okay, now let me just read you what Beth from Beverly said, and take it to heart, Linda. Real people have real trees. Artificial people have artificial trees. I'll say no more. Linda, thank you for your call.
Okay, thank you very much.
What do you
thank
think of that,
Beth, as
Marjorie? You have anything to say about that?
Excellent point by Beth. I guess I still do have the real tree, but I could be artificial by next year. Okay, we're going to talk about this for a while longer, despite what
We're going to talk about it for days.
Yeah, 877-301-8970 is the number. You're listening to Boston Public Radio, live from the Boston Public Library, streaming at youtube.com/GBH News.
This is Boston Public Radio on GBH, and right now we're in the midst of a one-day membership drive. Today only, we're taking a little time to ask for your support for everything you hear on this station. We count on listener contributions to keep the quality local reporting, insightful interviews, and conversations that matter to you on the air in the months ahead. So if you can, please make a gift of support now by calling 888-897-9424 or by giving online at gbhnews.org.
Yeah, this is just a one-day fund drive, and as you may have heard, the federal government took away our funding this year. Donald Trump doesn't like PBS, I guess. Maybe he missed Sesame Street all those years on television, or Frontline, or all the other great shows, or all the other great radio presentations. But in any case, it's gone, so we are more dependent than ever on the generosity of people who listen to us, not people who listen, the generosity of people who listen to us. We have some lovely notes here. A friend in Hampton says, Marjorie and Jim, of course, the Culture Show, of course, and so many other programs. WGBH is the creme de la creme, which is very, very nice. And a lot of people talk about how listening to the radio keeps them kind of sane during this troubled times, and that's a big deal too. So we have this wonderful gift today. Our show's almost over, 15 minutes left to go. If you'd like to give credit to BPR, this is the time to pledge, and then we can beat all our other colleagues in raising money. 888-897-9424, gbhnews.org.
And don't forget the deal today. It's a one-day pledge, one day only, which is terrific. Rick Steves' virtual wine tasting is the thank you gift. $12.50 a month. You get the sommelier and Rick on a virtual wine tasting. They deliver 6 small bottles of wine to your house in advance. It's enough for at least 2 people. It's Thursday, February 26th at 8 p.m. We have done them, Marjorie and I, we've done it, I think, twice, and we had huge fun. Based on the feedback we got, the audience loved it, and frankly, on our best day, we're not Rick Steves. Rick Steves, to spend a night with him, a couple of hours drinking wine and listening to him tell stories about his travels is really a dream. So if you're into it, and even if you're not into that, if you care about the station, which by definition you do, or you wouldn't be listening, you sort of have an obligation, I think, to give what you can, even if it's only a couple of bucks, if it's a tough time. And if you're doing well, then give a lot. 888-897-9424, gbhnews.org.
Okay. 888-897-9424, gbhnews.org. Mary Ellen Quincy says, I discovered Jim and Marjorie during the pandemic and have been a faithful listener of GBH ever since. We really appreciate that. Mark from Taunton says he loves all the programs. It is a terrific service. I wish I could give more. Thank you very much to everybody who took the time to give and to comment.
To us, yep.
888-897-9424, gbhnews.org.
Welcome back to BPR. We're at the Boston Public Library, streaming youtube.com/GBH News. And over the objection of Marjorie and most of my coworkers, I fought for you. I knew you wanted this discussion, and we're having it on real versus fake Christmas trees. You're welcome.
Did you read the texter?
I read every text.
Who says, I am gearing up for the regifting moldy chestnut. I've got some great stories this year. Don't skip it.
Believe me, we're not skipping it. We are not skipping
yeah,
that
you can tell
or
the same
colored
story
versus
about
white
Marjorie
lights
regifting
or
and making a fool of
regifting.
herself. Okay. Anonymous texter says, I just returned home from my first semester of
That's a good
college.
one.
There was nothing better than getting into my house last night and smelling a real live tree, so warm and inviting.
Can I,
of course, that's assuming that it is from the tree. In case it would have to be a balsam that's only newly put in its stand, because you can spray the spray smell on there, Jim.
Now, you have quoted Diane White from the Globe many times saying sweatpants are a sign of giving up.
That's right.
You know what else is a sign of giving up?
What?
A fake tree. A real tree, a live tree with an odor that reflects the season and the great outdoors is the only way to live, as far as I'm concerned.
Kelly had a good point. She's from Quincy.
What'd
she
she
says
say?
Real trees give jobs to people year after year.
Exactly.
It keeps land open that would probably be developed.
Exactly.
Then afterwards, the trees can be mulched. Best choice.
And I'm going to say, again, I was helping my friend who's been selling Christmas trees, and your friend, or your former friend now, who's been selling Christmas trees for like 40 years there. Boston Christmas Trees moved to Washington Street in Brighton, 423 Washington Street. Check them out.
You know, Carla has a good point.
What'd she say?
It's really heartbreaking to see all the real trees discarded after the holidays. They're just kind of sitting out there on the sidewalk when those trees should still be in the ground.
No.
How do you feel about that? I feel pretty bad about that.
You know what I do after every season? I rent a goat for a day. And the goat, you've never done that?
No.
You rent a little goat, bring it into your house. Now, it does crap all over the living room. That is the problem.
Except for that.
And it eats the tree.
It eats the tree.
Yeah, aren't you? Wasn't there an article in the Globe last year or the year before? Goats. You're supposed to give the tree to a goat.
Yeah, they
Isn't that
eat
it?
poison ivy, too. You can rent them in your backyard in the summertime.
Let's take some calls.
Okay. Phil from Danvers, thank you for calling.
Hello, Phil.
Hi there. Hi.
Hey.
I have an interesting one about a fake tree.
Okay, we're ready.
My girlfriend.
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Sure, your girlfriend.
Yeah. My girlfriend, except I can't call her my girlfriend because we've been going out for over 10 years.
Yeah, I would
and
say.
She said, knock it off.
You should.
Call me your partner. Yeah.
Okay, so your partner and you, what?
She lived in France for a number of years, and she has an artificial tree that's made from branches that are interwoven, and it's shaped like the Eiffel Tower.
Oh, my
about
God.
5 feet tall, and it has like these little lights, and it's beautiful, especially from outside. You drive by the house, and you can tell it's the Eiffel Tower. It's nothing really super. I mean, the person was talented who made it, but it's gorgeous.
Well, that's a change of pace, I should say, in terms of we've never heard an Eiffel Tower tree on this show. Can you send a picture of that to bpr@wgbh.org? And we'd like to see that, Phil. Thank you.
Phil, that was a great call.
It was an excellent call.
My friend Jessica bought me a butter that's in the shape of a Christmas tree for your Christmas dinner. You put the butter on the table, it's shaped like a Christmas tree.
Well,
what do you think?
I think that's a piece of butter right there sitting on your...
All right.
Now we're out of time.
We're out of time. Yeah, I thought we were out of time. I wasn't sure, but we are out of time. I'm really sorry about that. That moldy
By the way,
old
would you
chestnut
not
just
agree
flew by.
that the listeners, let me use the term carefully, loved that discussion?
I don't know, Jim.
Loved that discussion.
I think there are some people who just can't take it anymore.
And for those who are taking notes, regifting, colored lights versus regular lights. What else are we doing in the next couple of days?
What time do you eat Christmas
What time
dinner?
do you eat the Christmas
And what about
dinner?
tipping?
What about tipping?
And what about gift cards?
Who, by the way, and you have to look at me in the eyes, who knows more about tipping and gives better tipping advice than me? Anybody?
Jim Browdy.
Thank you.
I should double everybody's thing, and you can't afford to go to the
We just
hairdresser.
did a poll, which almost nobody responded to. Thank you. 77% prefer real trees. Is that fabulous?
I think you made it up.
I did not.
Okay.
That's
Thank you
it.
for listening to another edition of
Goodbye.
Boston Public Radio. Thanks to everybody who came down to see
Thank
the show
you for
at the Boston
coming.
Public
Stick around
Library.
for the culture show.
You keep up with us 24/7 by way of our podcast.
Yep.
And check out our TikTok page at Boston Public Radio. Tomorrow, Jim is off. Christina Quinn was going to fill in with me.
She
I'm
was
looking
great
forward.
the other day.
She's really great. We'll speak with political analyst Chuck Todd, former Public Safety Secretary Andrew Cabral, former Education Secretary Paul Revell, head orphan of the Gold Dust Orphans Ryan Landry, and Love Letters columnist Meredith Goldstein. I want to thank our crew, Zoe Matthews, Aidan Conlon, Nicole Garcia, Hannah Loss, our engineer John the Claw Parker, our executive producer Jane Bologna, our BPL staff Maddie Geyer, Bill Francis, Juan Jose Cadena, our host of the Newsfeed Cafe, and across the street at the Lennox Hotel. Thanks to Peter for great breakfast.
It was very kind of him.
Stay
actually.
tuned to the Culture Show with Jared Bowen, which starts right after us here on 89.7 GBH, live from the Boston Public Library. I am Marjorie Egan.
I am Jim Browdy, and
Thanks
we will
again.
talk regifting.
Yeah, okay.
Colored lights
I
versus
tell you,
white lights. I
you're
just want to be
you're
clear.
like a 3-year-old.
Tipping.
Stuck on this
It's
subject.
all coming.
Okay.
Stay tuned.
Many moldy chestnuts
Have a
ahead.
wonderful day.
Makes Jim very happy.
See you
Thank you
tomorrow.
very
Bye.
much. Bye.
And thank you for listening to Boston Public Radio here on GBH 89.7. And hey, guess what? This is your last chance to support your Boston Public Radio listening in 2025. GBHnews.org or 888-897-9424. I'm Zach Finn, and I'm here with Sonia Lee.
And good afternoon. It has been a fabulous day so far. And BPR fans, you are really rallying. If you have yet to give, though, you're running out of time to support Boston Public Radio during this one-day membership drive. And if you want to get in on the wine tasting, this is the time. You got about 8 minutes left to secure your ticket with Rick Steves and a professional sommelier and a virtual European wine tasting and support Boston Public Radio. This is $12.50 a month as a sustaining member, or give $150 all at once. You get 6 small bottles of wine delivered to your door. You get to hang out at home, and if you want, you could even get a couple tickets and invite a few friends over too. You spend an evening sipping wine with Rick Steves and hearing a lot of great stories. He is a fabulous storyteller, but just an all-around really great guy, as you heard Jim and Marjorie talk about. So you want to get your ticket and get in on the wine tasting? You have just about 7.5 minutes. GBHnews.org, 888-897-9424.
And we are looking for 20 contributions right now. That's what we're looking to receive here in the next 7 minutes. And by giving right now, you're going to help pay for your listening in the new year, and you're also going to help us stay on track for this one-day fund drive. So please make that end-of-year gift right now. It does make such a difference. 20 contributions here in the next 7 minutes. 888-897-9424, or go online, gbhnews.org.
And the loss of federal funding is a long-term reality, and now we're asking you to join the wave of community support. Your financial commitment will be dependable funding to replace the permanent cuts in the new year. We're asking you to stand with your neighbors, stand with Jim and Marjorie, stand with GBH, and start your monthly sustaining membership. Maybe put a few dollars more towards that gift if you're already a sustainer, or make an additional gift during this season of giving. Help fund the future of GBH by giving now. gbhnews.org, 888-897-9424.
And I want to send a huge thanks to Karen out in East Falmouth. Says, we feel that a free radio, press, and programming are essential to the democracy and will continue to support on-air and live reporting, including Jim and Marjorie. Karen, thank you so much. Very thoughtful comment there. And truly, that support right now is more important than ever. So, Karen, again, thank you for stepping up. We appreciate it. 888-897-9424, gbhnews.org.
And we are now down to just about, we're down to 14 contributions to go. We have just about 5.5 minutes left in Boston Public Radio. Sending a big thanks out to Jason listening in Brighton. Says, please put this towards earplugs for Marjorie so that she may have a little moment of peace from Jim. Well, thank you, Jason. I'm sure Marjorie would appreciate that. Please join with Jason and other fans of Boston Public Radio. We're now down to 14 contributions left to go. We have 5 minutes left for you to support Boston Public Radio in 2025. gbhnews.org, 888-897-9424.
And no better time to show your love and support for GBH. We're going to thank you with something really incredible today. It is a ticket to a virtual European wine tasting with expert traveler and author Rick Steves and a professional sommelier. Really wonderful offer. It comes with the 6 small bottles of wine. You can even share that. And it is shipped right to your door. How cool is that? The tasting is Thursday, February 26th, so you really don't want to miss out on this evening of discovery and delight. Sign up as a sustaining member, $12.50 a month, and that deadline does end today, so you really want to get rolling on that. gbhnews.org or 888-897-9424.
And that contribution is only going to take a couple of minutes of your time, a little contact information from you, how much you would like to give, how you'd like to give. You can become a sustaining member, make a one-time gift. Either way works. works. But whatever you give right now is going to become more Boston Public Radio, more Morning Edition, more All Things Considered in the new year. Please join in, make that year-end contribution. We got 4 minutes left here in Boston Public Radio, gbhnews.org, 888-897-9424.
And right now, more programming with less on-air fundraising is essential. However, the need for financial support is also essential, especially right now. So we're trying to make short work of our fund drive goal by raising that money in just one day. And we're asking you to do your part by making that contribution right now. And your gift's going to help so much. It's going to help pay for your GBH listening in this year ahead. gbhnews.org or 888-897-9424.
Okay, I want to send a thank you to William in Rentham. Says, you are my comfort station. I might as well have all my presets on GBH. I even leave it on for the dog at home. Thank you so much. That's Meg and William listening together in Rentham, bringing us down 8 contributions. Now 8 more people to give in the next 3 minutes. Again, this is your last opportunity. Ensure that Boston Public Radio remains on the air in the new year. We ask you to give now and join in. Now 7 contributions. gbhnews.org, 888-897-9424.
And hey, you listen to GBH because you get the facts. We get the story right, and we offer insight and context into the important issues in Boston and throughout Massachusetts. And your support is more important than ever. We're asking, if you can, to please make that end-of-year contribution to support your GBH listening into 2026. And the news won't let up, but neither will GBH. 888-897-9424, gbhnews.org.
And if you want to secure that ticket here during Boston Public Radio, just a few minutes to go. The wine tasting, European wine, sipping it with Rick Steves, hanging out from the comfort of your own home with other GBH fans. Thursday, February 26th, online in your home. We're going to ship you the wine and an email with everything you need to know. gbhnews.org, 888-897-9424, just $12.50 a month, a one-time gift of $150.
And we're looking for 4 more people to give here. We got a couple of minutes done. It is time to get that call started. 888-897-9424, gbhnews.org.
And this is terrific. Thank you. We heard from a fan in Auburn. We have made the goal here in Boston Public Radio. However, there are still a few minutes left if you want to give now and have it count towards Boston Public Radio and maybe get that wine ticket. This is the time to do it. gbhnews.org, 888-897-9424.
What's trending? What's interesting? What's going on around town? We're talking all things arts and culture on The Culture Show, next on GBH 89.7.
Funding for our programs comes from you.
And the Cape Cod Foundation, committed to building resources to support community life on Cape Cod, including environmental conservation, arts and culture, and community development. Learn more at capecodfoundation.org. And the University of Massachusetts Amherst. UMass, the state's flagship public research university, empowers students to be the future in the pursuit of progress for Massachusetts and beyond. More at umass.edu.
You're listening to 89.7 WGBH HD1 Boston. Online at gbhnews.org. GBH News. What matters to you?
Good afternoon. With the latest from the GBH Culture Show news desk, I'm Henry Santoro. Prosecutors continue to build their case in the killings of Rob Reiner and his wife Michelle Singer Reiner while they wait for the couple's son Nick to be medically cleared so that he can appear in court for an arraignment and enter a plea. As of 11:15 this morning, it's unclear when he would be cleared. Yesterday, Nick Reiner was charged with 2 counts of first-degree murder in the stabbing deaths of his parents. Nick was arrested without incident on Sunday. Meanwhile, TMZ reports a homicide detective with the Los Angeles Police Department showed up at the hotel where Nick was staying in search of a weapon and any other evidence that could be connected to the murders. Closer to home and on a more festive note, the wild and crazy Calamari Sisters are bringing their Christmas show to the Regent Theater in Arlington this Saturday and Sunday.
Deck the house with balls of holly. Balls of holly. The lyrics is not balls of holly. No,
No, those are just Christmas ornaments. Let's not deck the halls with balls. Bring your bows. Don't bring the other thing.
If the Calamari sisters can't get you in the mood for the Feast of Seven Fishes, no one will. Except maybe Oedipus, whose Christmas Eve with Oedipus show airs right here on 89.7 GBH and on the GBH app from 6 to midnight, 1 week from today.
It's a big country. Merry Christmas, everybody. Just a word from me and then to say we're fine.
That's this edition of the GBH Weekly Wednesday Afternoon Culture Cast. I'm Henry Santoro. Next up, the Culture Show with my friend and yours, Jared Bowen, live at the Boston Public Library.
I'm Jared Bowen. Coming up on the Culture Show, it's our Wednesday watch party. We're opening up the phone lines for a holiday classic that has never waned, A Christmas Carol. Since Dickens published the story in 1843, Scrooge has been resurrected hundreds of times. From candlelit Victorian London to Hollywood sound stages, this ghost story of greed, regret, and redemption has been retold and reimagined across silent-era morality tales, mid-century prestige pictures, animated adaptations, musical retellings, modern updates, and comic riffs. We want to hear from you. Which Scrooge still haunts you? The one who asked, "Are there no prisons?" or the one who woke up vowing to honor Christmas in his heart? Do you say "God bless us everyone" to the classic versions, or champion a contemporary adaptation that stirs up bah humbuggery among traditionalists? Join us for a live conversation about the many lives of A Christmas Carol and why this story keeps finding new ways to visit us year after year. That's our Wednesday watch party right now on The Culture Show.
The Culture Show is made possible in part by a generous contribution from the Fiducia Fund, proud to support this station's arts and culture programming.
I'm Jared Bowen. This is The Culture Show live from the Boston Public Library and streaming on the GBH News YouTube channel. I'm joined by co-hosts Callie Crossley and Edgar B. Herwick III. We're kicking off another Culture Show Movie Club Wednesday watch party. This month, we're going full Scrooge, tracing how one man's dark night of the soul also became one of the most beloved stories on film. Charles Dickens' A Christmas Carol takes us from cold rooms to crowded Victorian streets, from hunger to holiday excess, and it transports us from the stark sadness of dying unmourned to the giddy relief of being granted a second chance. Published in 1843, the book has never gone out of print. And Hollywood has been besotted with the Yuletide tale almost as long as there have been movies, reinventing Scrooge in black and white, in Technicolor, as drama, comedy, and musical. Today, we're appreciating all screen Scrooges and asking you which version feels like your Christmas Carol, the one you rewatch, quote, or can't imagine December without. Call us at 617-300-3838. Again, our number is 617-300-3838. If you're here with us at the library, we have a microphone here to offer up your favorite version of A Christmas Carol, but we'll begin with ourselves.
All right. All right.
So I will go last, but Callie, let's start with you. What is your favorite version of A Christmas Carol?
The 1951 version. We'll compare with yours and mine later. I like it because it's black and white. I think they colorized it at some point, but what it does is bring together a lot of the Dickens original script as well as the storytelling, beautifully told. I mean, the scary Marley visit, all of the ghosts are there doing their work as they should, and the lead actor, Alistair Sims, is just so great. What I didn't know until researching for this piece is that he was a comedic actor.
Yeah.
So this was very different from what he had done. So it means that when we hear him later, after he, is redeemed, he can really fully get into the goofiness of that. But at the front part of the film, the scene that always gets me, and as I shared with you all, I sometimes have to watch in the daytime because it's still scary to me. is when
You really don't like scary movies.
I do not like scary movies, and even though I know what's going to happen, I get scared. The scene that I like is when Jacob Marley, long gone these 7 years, on Christmas night, comes to visit his old business partner, Ebenezer Scrooge, and to warn him. So let's just take a listen from the 1951 version of A Christmas Carol.
Why do you walk the earth? And why do you come to me? It is required of every man that the spirit within him should walk abroad among his fellow men. If it goes not forth in life, it is condemned to do so after death. It is doomed to wander through the world and witness what it cannot share, but might have shared on earth, and turn to happiness. Why are you fettered? I wear the chain I forged in life. I made it link by link and yard by yard. I girded it on of my own free will and of my own free will. I wore it.
I mean, if that doesn't...
That's some good stuff. That is terrifying.
That is some good stuff, I have to tell you. The acting there is great, and, Alistair Sim is able to go back and forth from, I don't believe you, humbug, to wait a minute, yes I do, which gives you the full sense.
You definitely see his comedic chops, especially in the transformation at the end. That scene, the famous scene when he kind of, turns the corner is, there's about a minute of just beautiful, insane comic acting by him.
Which we'll go back to, because that's one of my favorite moments. We'll break this down.
We'll break it down.
Upcoming segments. But I was going to ask Edgy Edgar,
yes,
what's your favorite version of A Christmas Carol is?
Well,
maybe my saying Edgy Edgar gives people a clue.
Exactly.
So I'm gonna, it's interesting. This is a hard thing to pick, right? And so I thought about what I would really argue is my favorite. Not necessarily what I think is the best, right? But what is my favorite? What is the one that, whether I want to admit it or not, I absolutely watch every year, can't do without, and it's Bill Murray's 1988 classic Scrooged. I love this film. I think, interestingly, like one of the premises of our Wednesday watch party is we've typically asked, do these movies hold up? And one of the things I think is interesting about Scrooge, and I watch it every year, but I watched it pretty carefully this year, knowing we were going to be talking about it. And I actually think this movie is better today than it was in 1988. I think it is aged well, oddly, because it is a bit of a chaotic mess. It's a bit schizophrenic. Its tone kind of moves all over the map. And I feel like, interestingly, one of the things I felt about this movie when I was younger, and I don't know if it's because I was younger or it's because it was earlier in time, but there is, and you can make a criticism of this, there is a certain amount of almost mean-spiritedness undercurrent in this movie.
It's not kind of the entire movie.
It's sort of, it's played for laughs, but it is kind of mean-spirited. But I actually, the older I get, the more impactful I find that to a certain degree, because the Scrooge really, he really is mean. Bill Murray is playing the meanness with sincerity in a way I think a lot of other Scrooges don't, and I think that's actually impactful. I think it works as a timepiece. It's send-up of the media culture of the 1980s. The network television of that era, I think, is very sharp. It's very witty. It's very good. And I think the other thing that's really interesting about this, and I would love this to exist. I don't know that it does, but I would love somebody to do a documentary, a podcast of the making of this, because if you dig into the making of this, you have these really interesting kind of tensions that were there. Bill Murray was apparently Bill Murray on the set. Richard Donner, who directed it, they were kind of at odds with what they were trying to do with the movie. And also you have the writers, Michael O'Donoghue, who's famous for his work on SNL. It's interesting because he says about 40% of the script that he wrote made it into the movie, right? He says about 40%, but he says what he wrote, he believes, was an absolute masterpiece. And so it's interesting to kind of understand what went on behind the scenes in the making of this movie and the compromises that were or weren't made. I think that's part of why it seems so chaotic. but I think it makes it work as a film.
So what's the element of the film? There are many.
There's so many
how
elements
zany
of this
is that you want to point to.
But
for
I
your
want to
sound.
point to the end of the film, the transformation. Speaking of transformations, and this is one of the interesting moments in this film because apparently Bill Murray largely went off script in this moment. He went off his mark. He went into a big kind of improvisation, as is his wont. The writers kind of thought he was maybe actually having a breakdown as this was happening, which is, I think, part of what makes it so impactful. So this is Bill Murray sort of coming around at the end, but also kind of unhinged.
I get it now. And if you give, then it can happen. Then the miracle can happen to you. It's not just the poor and the hungry. It's everybody who's got to have this miracle, and it can happen tonight for all of you. If you believe in this spirit thing, the miracle will happen, and then you'll want it to happen again tomorrow. You won't be one of these bastards who says Christmas is once a year and it's a fraud. It's not. It can happen every day. You just gotta want that feeling. And if you like it and you want it, you'll get greedy for it. You'll want it every day of your life, and it can happen to you. I believe in it now. I believe it's gonna happen to me now. I'm ready for it. It's great. It's a good feeling. It's really better than I felt in a long time.
I mean, if you want to talk about holding up, just the audio of that alone, that's extraordinary.
It's extraordinary. And in that moment, you watch his, I mean, he is doing some real acting there. Like, that is one of the moments in the movie, and there are a few of them where it is actually really impactful. You feel what they're feeling, and it's slightly uncomfortable, but in a good way.
Well, we are talking about our favorite version of A Christmas Carol. You can call us at 617-300-3838. Again, the number is 617-300-3838, or come up to our microphone here at the Boston Public Library. Well, let's go to my
Yes, Jared, tell us what your favorite version
So like
is.
you, Edgar, this is not necessarily what I think is the best version, but it's my favorite. And I have a theory that your favorite version might be one of the earliest versions, if not the earliest version you ever saw. And mine happened to be one that was on television a lot when I was a kid. I remember my mom recording it, and we would play it every Christmas, and it's the 1938 version of A Christmas Carol, which these were in the Ted Turner glory days, so it definitely was black and white, to your point, Callie. It was definitely colorized, so sadly, before I knew better about these things, that was the one that I became very fond of. So it stars Reginald Owen as Scrooge, and he took over, speaking of the trivia that I recently learned, he took over for Lionel Barrymore, who had become ill, and personally selected Owen to take over this role. But I think why this resonates with me so deeply is because this is a family film, literally. It's Gene Lockhart as Bob Cratchit, starring with his wife, Kathleen Lockhart, and their daughter is played by June Lockhart.
Of Lassie and Palmolive
and
commercial
who
fame.
only just died this year at 100 years old. And even a couple of years ago, at age 98, she was talking about being in this film. These were the first words she uttered on the screen. And so many people would say that this is not the best because it departs pretty heavily from the version, from the Dickens version. However, it focuses on family, and it was produced by MGM. In its day, it became a television staple when television was introduced after 1938. It also was a very big commercial success. And I chose a scene to play for you all, something that really resonates with me, and that's when it plays out that Tiny Tim is gone, and Bob Cratchit is trying to hold it together for his family. But you're watching this knowing that he's there with his own family, which just gives it these incredible layers. So again, here's Gene Lockhart as Bob Cratchit in the 1938 version, and after his meeting with Scrooge's nephew, Fred, and again, he's reconciling loss.
It really seemed that he knew our Tim and felt with us.
I'm sure he's a good soul, Bob.
He is. He is. And I'm sure that when we remember how gentle and patient Tim was, we shan't quarrel among ourselves, and in doing it, forget our Tim. Huh?
No, Father.
I'm very happy. I am.
It's also a lesson in grief and how he's pulling it together for his family. So while it's telling the Dickens tale and takes liberties, I think it's definitely taking all its cues from Dickens and about togetherness and how we're there for one another.
Yeah, absolutely. And, one of the things I love about that version, first of all, I really love the Fred. The Fred
is really
he's
good.
very charming and
really
kind of
good.
flirty.
That's his name is Barry Mackey.
Yeah.
He's
Very
very
good.
dashing and just one of the lights of the piece.
Yeah, but I also love how obsessed they all are with sliding on the in that one. There's all of the sliding that is happening, and then the priest does the bit where he does some sliding. It's just like, it's very charming.
It's a fabulous version. Well, we're talking about A Christmas Carol, asking you what is your favorite version. We'll get to your calls in just a moment. Who is your favorite Scrooge? Call us at 617-300-3838. Again, 617-300-3838. The conversation continues on The Culture Show. Stay with us.
The Culture Show is made possible in part by a generous contribution from the Fiducia Fund, proud to support this station's art and culture programming.
And we'll be right back to the Christmas Carol chat in just a moment. But again, we wanted to give you one more opportunity to take place in our December drive, our December fund drive, which is just one single day today. So when you support GBH right now with a gift of $12.50 a month, we can thank you with a ticket to a virtual European wine tasting with none other, I think you might see this coming, than expert traveler and author Rick Steves. This is an event not to be missed. You know him, you love him, and your ticket includes 6 small bottles of wine. That's enough for 2 people. Or if you want to have a bit of a guzzle, you can just do it on your own.
Sharing isn't always caring.
Yeah, sharing is not always caring. You don't have to share, but it's really up to you. And so here's how it works. You save the date, February 26th. That's when it happens at 8 p.m.
It's a Thursday, so we love late in the week
Perfect.
parties.
Yeah, perfect. It's early weekend start. Yeah. And this is going to happen in the comfort of your own home and online. It's a beautiful way to do this. You enjoy wine tasting. There's instructions that Rick Steve is going to give you on how to taste it. There's conversation, interactive trivia, and just an all-around enjoyable evening. And all of that is yours for a gift right now of $12.50 a month. That's our way of thanking you. Or if you want to just give $150 to support GBH right now, you can secure a ticket that way. So that's what we're asking you to do right now on our one-day pledge drive. You can do that very simply with a phone call, 888-897-9424, or you can do it at gbhnews.org. Thanks, and now back to the Dickens.
I'm Jared Bowen. This is The Culture Show. We're live from the Boston Public Library and streaming on the GBH News YouTube channel. If you're just tuning in, welcome to our Wednesday watch party. I'm joined by Culture Show co-hosts Callie Crossley and Edgar B. Herwick III, and we're getting Scrooged, talking about all the cinematic adaptations of A Christmas Carol. My favorite is the 1938 version starring Reginald Owen. Callie is partial to the 1951 adaptation with Alistair Sim as Scrooge, and Edgy Edgar has gone with Bill Murray in Scrooged, the 1988 comedy classics. Before we go back to the conversation, Dickens himself has weighed in.
Oh.
I spoke with actor Gerald Charles Dickens, the great-great-grandson of Charles Dickens. He has a number of favorite adaptations, including mine and Callie's, I will mention, and the George C. Scott version, but he has a special affection for this one.
People always think I'm going to say this just for a cheap laugh, and that's not quite the truth. The Muppets Christmas Carol. Yeah. And the reason I love it is because the story is told to us by 2 narrators, as the book is told to us by a narrator. You get chunks of original Dickens narrative text that none of the other movies give you. And in that respect, it's one of the most complete tellings of the book. And of course, it wins extra points as well for introducing generation after generation to the works of Charles Dickens and A Christmas Carol.
So again, that was Gerald Charles Dickens, the great-great-grandson of Charles Dickens, an actor who tours the U.S., the U.K., and beyond, presenting A Christmas Carol. You can hear my full interview with him on Monday. But version of A Christmas Carol resonates with you. Call us at 617-300-3838. Well, let's start off with our callers. Let's go to Marissa, who's calling. We don't know where she's calling from, but let's go to Marissa. Hi, Marissa.
Hi, this is Marissa. I'm in Hamilton, Massachusetts.
Well, thank you for calling in. You're first on the air with your favorite or best version of A Christmas Carol.
Okay, so I'm in good company because I agree with Gerald Charles Dickens. It's the Muppet Christmas Carol.
Yeah.
Hands down. Gonzo and Ratso Rizzo narrating the story is just absolutely makes the text come to life. But watching Kermit and Robin, like Robin who plays Tiny Tim, is amazing. And then you've got it layered with Michael Caine giving like the most serious, like terrible, awful Scrooge while he's interacting with a bunch of Muppets. We watch it every year as a family. I had like 10 kids over this year watching it for like a 5th grade Christmas party. It was amazing.
Well, thank you so much for calling. I have to say, as I've been talking about this in my own friend circles, the Muppets Christmas Carol has come up a lot. Let's go to Michael Caine as Ebenezer Scrooge. This is from the 1992 Muppet Christmas Carol when Bunsen and Beaker request a donation for the poor.
Now then, sir, about the donation?
Well, now, let's see. I know how to treat the poor. My taxes go to pay for the prisons and the poorhouses. The homeless must go there.
But some would rather die.
If they'd rather die, then they'd better do it and decrease the surplus population.
Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear.
This is the door. You may use it.
All right, Beaker, come along. I think we've taken enough of Mr. Scrooge's time. Oh, dear, dear, dear.
So as we say, this is a favorite of so many people. Why do you think this is so free for adaptation, and why does it resonate so differently with people?
You mean the
story
Christmas
of
Carol?
Christmas Carol?
Yeah. Because the story just hits so many points. And note that even within the craziest adaptations, I don't know of one that veers from the basic premise. Ghost, 3 ghosts, 1 visit at the beginning, transformation at the end, setting the table of how awful it was for people who were without during that time, and then Scrooge is representing that he was one of those people that wasn't going to help. So those factors, no matter how it's presented, always come out, and I think it just really hits you that there are people who are so less caring, they don't see everybody else and their problems because they're very focused on themselves. And the fact that the character of Scrooge is so petty that even in one of the adaptations, it might be yours, Jared, where he's eating and he asks the waiter bread, and that waiter says, well, that'll be a couple more,
like
he goes, no bread. I mean, he will sacrifice himself because he's so selfish and whatever.
Not just sacrifice himself so selfish. I think that's an important point. So there are a few things happening here. One, you point out the 3 ghosts, right? So it's got some. One of the reasons it works is it's well crafted. The rule of 3, the fact that you have this rhythm that really works. It works for a story. I think 2 is that, as we know, Dickens in his time was a bit of a performer himself. And so it's already, even though it's written beautifully, he would perform this from the get-go. So it's built with that sort of ability for it to be performed. And so it sings off the page. There's that piece of it too. But I think, those timeless themes like want and, all of that. But I find the Scrooge character really compelling because I think there's the tendency for some people, I think, to imagine that they're Bob Cratchit, but they're not. We're challenged to see ourselves in Scrooge. And the thing about Scrooge is he is a rich man, right? But he's not the way we think of wealthy people today often is that they're living it up on luxury yachts while the world is burning. But he's working in that same cold office as Cratchit is. When he's in his house in all these adaptations, his house is falling apart. He's suffering, even though he is wealthy and petty and all of those things. And then when you get this backstory filled in, there's this explanation of how a person who was not inherently evil sort of found his way to where he was, but we're challenged to see ourselves in Scrooge.
Well, and speaking of seeing, I think there's a yearning for being seen. And we spend most of the film or the story waiting for that moment where that recognition, that acceptance is happening, and you know that the world can change because suddenly someone of significance who can have a great impact, his eyes have been opened and he can change the world. We see that in this moment right now. There are so many people who just don't have a voice and whose circumstances aren't acknowledged, and we yearn for that to change. And it's what Dickens observed, of course, in England. It's what he observed when he came here to the United States, and he went to Lowell to look at the mills, just as he had looked at the labor force in England. And of course, that came to the fruition with this story. Let's go back to our callers, and Bill from Cranston, Rhode Island. Hi, Bill. Thank you for calling. What's your favorite adaptation of A Christmas Carol?
Well, it goes back to my childhood, believe it or not. You know, growing up, it's the show you would see every year and just smile at. Believe it or not, Mr. Magoo's A Christmas Carol.
Yes. Mr. Magoo's is good.
It's my all-time favorite.
So what makes it a favorite?
You know, first of all, the Mr. Magoo character was born to play Scrooge. when you knew the character so well. And it was done very seriously. It wasn't made as just a plain cartoon. It was made to the story. With some musical numbers in it, but still very deep to the story.
Well, Bill, thank you for the call. We really appreciate it. I think we have a lot of people who are Mr. Magoo fans in that adaptation. And I was really struck by something Bill just said, that the intention that the adapters have, that the filmmakers have, or the TV makers have when they create this story, there is honor. You very rarely see something that doesn't completely rise to the occasion in terms of honoring the material and this universal embrace of it.
And the other thing about it, Mr. Magoo was so perfect because, you know, he had problems seeing. And the underpinning of all of this is seeing what's going on. And I want to mention that, you know, the Bob Cratchit's experience as seen from one of the ghosts' perspective and then Scrooge's perspective, therefore, was really about his understanding other people's lived experience. He didn't have a clue how Bob lived. And that is so important, and it resonates today.
Absolutely.
I mean, you could just take that whole story and adapt it again for right now, and it fits wonderfully, just have to say.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with that completely. I mean, it's interesting, though, to think about, you know, Mr. Magoo and the fact that he doesn't see as, like, adding a level of metaphor to the story that, you know, that gives it a little bit more oomph. I like that. Yeah.
Well, again, our number to call with your favorite version of A Christmas Carol and why is 617-300-3838. We also have our very lonely Mike here at the library. So if anybody wants to come up and share at the library.
There are people here in the library. I can see you. I can see you.
If we have any former teachers in the audience who might want to step up and offer her favorite version of A Christmas Carol, maybe I recognize somebody in the audience out there. But in the meantime, let's go to Caroline in Newton. Hi, Caroline.
Hi. Thank you for taking my call. So I've been watching them all week to get ready for this show. So I'm so
we love it.
To talk about it. So I have a hard time choosing between the George C. Scott and Alastair Sim, and I did watch the really early one, the 1938 one. But I think I have to say my most favorite is the one with Albert Finney because it's a musical.
Yeah.
And I love the part where he dies and they're all taking his casket through the street and singing "Thank you very much," and he has no clue that they're happy because he died. Yeah. And he starts saying, "Oh, thank you," and then he realizes it. But it's just. And my dad just passed at the beginning of November, and he took us when we were little, and I think that's also why I love that one because we saw it. He worked for Jordan Marsh, and we saw it at the old Shoppers World Framingham, and it was a big deal to go to the movies that long ago when you're little. So, but yeah, no, I love them all. I watch as many as I can every year, and I also read the book by Dickens. So I love the story. It's just. It gives you a feeling that anybody can change, you know, and it's just a good story. And I agree with Callie that it could fit right in nowadays, but I won't say any more about that.
Well, Caroline, thank you so much for the call. Wow. Thank you for all the homework you did and all the reviewing you did in preparation for this segment. That is fabulous to hear.
like my favorite thing. So Merry Christmas to all of you.
Merry Christmas to you too. I mean, I think the only version that bothered me was there was one on FX a couple of years ago that was so dark. I very rarely don't finish something.
Yes.
I just need to see it through. That one I had to stop. I couldn't. It was just too dark and too
and it
much.
was horrible.
And it didn't I'm betraying myself here because we have more comments in the library about that. We have a lot in common, you and I realize. But that version was just too dark, and I think this is why, as Caroline was just saying too, this is why we come back to it, because you can rely on that redemption that happens on the end. So it's a little bit of therapy for us this time of year too, I think.
And the fact that somebody can be redeemed. Back to that horrible version. Not only was it dark in content, it was dark in the production. So you literally could not see.
The color scheme was dark.
It was too dark. That was one of the criticisms.
Yeah.
I was boosting up the light. You couldn't see anything.
Yeah, it's interesting you talk about the idea of like why do so many of these kind of hew to the story, and there's something in this, in the works that truly kind of enter that pantheon of like really being universal, right? Is I think one of the tricks is that it is made in such a way, for whatever reason, part of the magic is that the people who then come to it feel some kind of ownership over it, right? Like it somehow is yours. And I think so many people, whatever version they've seen, feel such ownership of this story that if you try to vary it too much, or you try to move away from the heart of it, people are just going to be like, absolutely not, you can't do that, because they feel such ownership of the story, which is incredible that can come. I mean, Charles Dickens, just a man sitting there with a pen writing
At 30
this
years old.
from his head.
Yes.
And this is what he brings into the world.
And by the way, if you want to take a little field trip, you can go to New York, to the Morgan Library, which puts the original manuscript on view every time. Every Christmas holiday time, so people can see that manuscript. I don't know what the lineage is or the derivation is that it landed here in the United States, although we do know this is a much more popular story in the United States than it is in the UK, interestingly. Maybe we need this redemption. But let's go back to our calls. And Jessica from Acton, what's your favorite adaptation? Hi, Jessica.
Oh, hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yes, great. My favorite adaptation is from the radio. I grew up in Germany, and in the 50s, the American Forces Network had a recording that I think included Lionel Barrymore.
Oh, wow.
Oh, yeah.
And some other... Yeah, and we used to lie in the living room with the radio on. Of course, we didn't have a TV because it was the 50s, And I love that version, and we would listen to it every year, and I have great memories of that. The acting, of course, was wonderful. I don't know if people are familiar with that recording.
I know I wasn't, but hopefully we can find it. We have something to listen to over the holidays.
Yeah,
now.
and as you pointed out, Lionel Barrymore, who know, he was famed for doing it on radio, which is why they had he was going to do it in that movie. And of course, if folks don't know, Lionel Barrymore eventually got on screen in a very Scrooge-like character as Mr. Potter in It's a Wonderful Life. So he finally did get his chance to be Scrooge on the big screen.
And he was unredeemable in that role.
Yeah, I mean, frankly, that is 100% true.
Well, it's also interesting that Edgar, as you pointed out this morning, essentially we're talking about a ghost story.
Yeah.
We're talking about a ghost story in December around the holidays, and it works pulling it away from Halloween.
But I think part of that is it is of the Victorian era, right? And in the Victorian era, like that idea of ghostliness was a much larger part of Christmas time. I mean, Christmas obviously has many strains and roots, including pagan roots, and the solstice and that time of year. It's that time of year where the sun is lowest in the sky, and there is that sense of like you can sort of connect to this otherworldly place. So ghost stories as part of Christmas was in the Victorian era a thing. In our culture, it feels like all of that holdover from Victorian interest in ghosts has been penned into Halloween, and we've sort of lost it in the other places. But there was a time when ghosts and Christmas went hand in hand.
Yeah, it's very Americanized in that way.
Well, just recently we had the historian from the Omni Parker House Hotel on the show, because that's where Charles Dickens holed up. The Charles Dickens, not the one we just spoke with.
Yeah.
The Charles Dickens holed up when he was on tour here in this country, because people were so there was such fandom for A Christmas Carol in his time, and she pointed out that he was the one who helped create Christmas in this region, because for years, I think a lot of us didn't realize this, Christmas wasn't really a thing. Thank you, Puritans.
It was illegal. There was like a 15-year period, I mean, way back, 1600s, Massachusetts Bay Colony, but it was actually, you could be fined for celebrating Christmas.
And there was a very long tail before it actually came back, and a lot of people attribute Charles Dickens and this story and his going around to all of these cities, and as Edgar was saying, performing it, because he was an actor first. He was an actor before he was a writer, but his performing it and getting people to coalesce around the story of togetherness that brought so much of the Christmas spirit back to New England. Again, thank you, Puritans. Well, we're talking about A Christmas Carol, all the versions, and according to the British Film Institute, there are more than 400 worldwide. If you've seen them all, give us a call at 617-300-3838. The conversation continues on The Culture Show. Stay with us.
Hey, we're just taking a short minute before we get back to more Christmas Carol to talk about a way for you to support a one-day December drive, and it happens to be today. So we want to say thanks for listening to The Culture Show on GBH Today throughout the entire year, and we are now here to ask for you to support future listening by making an end-of-year contribution to GBH. This is the only day of this December fund drive, so this is the day to do it, and every dollar makes a difference. When you give now, you help ensure news and insightful conversations and more Wednesday watch parties here on The Culture Show. 888-897-9424. If you're near a phone, that's the number to call, or you can hit the donate button online at gbhnews.org. Again, a gift in any amount is what we're looking for right now.
And it's always nice to get a prize, isn't it? So if you support GBH with a gift of $12.50 a month, well, thank you with a ticket to a virtual European wine tasting with expert traveler and author Rick Steves. This is an event not to be missed. I know I just took one of his guidebooks on vacation. Even better if you have the person right there with you. Your ticket includes 6 small bottles of wine, enough for 2 people, shipped to your door. Save the date. It's Thursday, February 26th at 8 p.m. online and in your home. Enjoy wine tasting instruction, conversation, interactive trivia, and an enjoyable evening with Rick Steves. Give $150 to support GBH and secure your ticket. Please give at gbhnews.org or call 888-897-9424.
You know, during past fund drives, we've talked about how a small percentage of our operating budget used to come from the federal government. Well, that is no longer the case. And so now we're turning to the community to give us a little extra oomph, a little extra pull. You know, that little from the government helped ensure that we could serve a broad range of listeners across our television, radio, and digital services, especially those listeners who could not afford to give. So that's the money we're trying to make up right now. That's what we're asking you to contribute to. 888-897-9424 is the number, or you can always give online at gbhnews.org. And thanks.
I'm Jared Bowen. This is The Culture Show, live from the Boston Public Library and streaming on the GBH News YouTube channel. We're spending the hour hosting our Wednesday watch party. I'm joined by co-hosts Callie Crossley and Edgar B. Herwick III, and we're visiting the ghosts of all film adaptations of A Christmas Carol, asking you why the story of selfishness and selflessness endures. Call us at 617-300-3838. Again, that number is 617-300-3838. Who is your favorite cold-hearted, wrenching, grasping, covetous, curmudgeonly Scrooge? Again, our number is 617-300-3838, or you can come visit us at the library as our very first ever mic guest has. We've never had somebody come to the mic before at the library. People have been intimidated. Thank you for being brave.
Yes.
What's your favorite?
Well, it's a great segue because it's more about the ghostly aspect. And my favorite, Reginald Owen, but absolutely Alistair Sim. And when I was in high school in the early 60s, we would go to midnight mass and come home, and my brother, who was 2 years older, everybody was in bed. My parents were upstairs getting the presents ready for the little kids, and it was on TV every year. But remember with Jim and Marjorie, you were talking about how things change?
Yes.
There was a scene at the end where Scrooge is with the third ghost, and he sees his name, and he just screams out, it's Ebenezer Scrooge, and it gets louder and louder and louder, and he's pounding on the grave, and that's when he wakes up. And that has been changed from the way they do it now.
That's very interesting.
But I always watch it, and I always do my own ending of it. Thank you.
Thank you so much, and thank you for being our inaugural mic guest here at the Boston Public Library. It is always fun to look at to judge, as we start to break it down, to judge by those moments.
Right.
Who has the best turn?
Exactly.
Who has the most exciting revelation? Who is the best Marley that sends Callie into another room so she can't watch that version anymore?
Yeah. Well, speaking of interesting Marleys, I just have to give a shout out to another adaptation of it. It's called A Diva's Christmas Carol. It came out
You
in
like something called The
2000.
Diva's Christmas Carol?
Shut up. It came out in 2000. It stars Vanessa Williams. Do not be confused. Somebody tried to remake that recently. That's not the one. It's a VH1 project, and it's all music-based.
Yeah.
So she plays a really crazed, ego-based person, so we should take a listen to that, and then I'll tell you the rest of the plot.
You know, you don't actually have to dump that toxic waste down my throat to make it look like it's snowing in here. Perhaps they didn't teach you that at the Academy de la Minimum Wage. What the hell is that?
You asked for toast and French bread.
French toast. French toast. For God's sake, aren't we in France? You know what? Screw it. I'll be in my dressing room.
You know, Kelly, I don't think that any of those words are in the Dickens version of A Christmas Carol.
They totally adapted it to fit the music scene so that Kathy Griffin, the comedian, is the ghost of Christmas past.
Yeah.
John Taylor from Duran Duran is the ghost of Christmas present.
Amazing.
And the greatest thing they have a little miniature television and do behind the music as the ghost of Christmas yet to come, telling her story as if she's died.
Like a VH1
yes.
behind the music? Oh, that's
and people
amazing.
commenting on it. It's very, very clever. It's really well done. And the best part is like looking at Chili from TLC playing Marley's ghost. It's fabulous. And she's dressed in this fabulous chain outfit. Yeah. So anyway, I highly recommend it if you want a really interesting, fun adaptation of A Christmas Carol.
I have partaken in that version of A Diva's Christmas Carol, of course. Let's go to Mercy calling from Tewksbury. Hi, Mercy.
Hi, and happy holidays, Merry Christmas, happy Hanukkah to one and all.
Same to you. Thank you for calling.
Oh, my pleasure. It's funny, I've been listening to everyone that's been discussing A Christmas Carol because I force my children, I've got 3 teenage girls, and we always watch the Albert Finney Scrooge 1970s musical, among other things. I also make them watch the Patrick Stewart version. Nobody's mentioned that one yet.
Yes.
I like the Patrick Stewart one, too, yeah.
He was phenomenal. And we love the Muppet Christmas Carol. I'm trying to work my way through all the different film versions. One of my church moms recommended the Alistair Sim 1951. She, since we were discussing A Christmas Carol last week, and she's like, "You've got to see that one." I'm like, "I haven't seen that one yet."
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so that one's on my bucket list. Of course, you folks mentioned Lionel Barrymore, and I was not aware that he did the radio broadcast of Scrooge. But we also watch It's a Wonderful Life. It's not Christmas if we don't see It's a Wonderful Life in black and white. I'm a purist.
Amen.
I will not see
Amen.
That is
and
correct.
to me, he was the quintessential. Potter was the quintessential Scrooge, but not redeemable, of course. But yeah, I would have to say my favorite, and a lovely lady a few calls back just nailed it for me. That's why I called. She mentioned that was her favorite because they're singing thank you very much when they're carrying his coffin, and he has no clue that they're singing that they're happy because he's dead. And I thought it was just so clever, and the way that they end the movie, how he makes amends to Bob Cratchit and his family, to his nephew Fred and his wife. I just love the musical numbers. And so that's still, I think, I have a special place in my heart for Scrooge. My husband actually found it, and I still have it on DVD.
Oh, nice. We were talking about that earlier with Jim and Marjorie, too. Mercy, thank you so much, because so many people are going back to these original forms. So if they do get changed, they have the original version. I have to say that, of course, that's what I look forward to most, too. And that's what I particularly like in my 1938 version is Scrooge is so over the top in his generosity that he almost scares poor Bob Cratchit to death.
Yeah,
He's so alarmed by what's happening around him that he can't process it, which is just so incredibly dear.
I love it.
I do think, Callie, your version, the 1951 version, I think the Scrooge transformation in that, and I think I said this earlier, but he is incredible in the first minute or 2 minutes of that. It is a master. You could teach a master class in comic acting around that. And another thing about your version, Callie, that I really like is there are a couple of moments through that, right, where there are these really arresting shots.
Mm-hmm.
When I was watching it in lead up to this, I was making notes of these. There's one where he goes in and Marley's dead, and you see up the stairs, and the funeral director's up there.
Very dark.
There's a couple of really great ones, but I learned that the cinematographer for that insisted on replicating a bunch of the illustrations from the original print of the book. And so those vignettes, those shots that are really arresting in that, many of them are replicating what the illustrations were in the first edition of the book, which I think is really cool.
Well, do you have a call?
I do, yeah.
Okay, good.
I was going to say our number again is 617-338-38. Edgar was talking about performances, and it turns out we have an actor waiting to weigh in on the line.
Oh, good.
Let's go to Frank calling from New Hampshire. Hi, Frank.
Hello, how are you?
Well, thank you.
I have a particular kind of perspective on this on this work. I lived in Seattle for many years, and I did a lot of work there at various theaters. And there's the theater, a contemporary theater that has done a production of A Christmas Carol for about 50 years now. When I played Scrooge, it was about 10 years ago, shortly before moving to New Hampshire. And the great challenge for me was not trying to replicate Alastair Sim's astonishing performance. As a kid growing up in New York, there was a show on TV called $1 Million Movie, and they would choose one classic film and play it numerous times in the course of a week. And A Christmas Carol, the Sim Christmas Carol, was one of those, and it's literally embedded in my consciousness. Every single moment, every single move, every single intonation. And, the great challenge I had was not being Alastair Sim. I don't think I fully succeeded.
So are you tipping your hat? Is that your favorite version of A Christmas Carol?
Oh, without question. I find it almost impossible to watch any other. And I will watch it again in a few days. And I am determined this time, and this is something I say every year, not to burst into tears at various points.
Oh, wow. Well, Frank, thank you so much for the call. Happy viewing. We say happy deliberately.
Yes.
They can be happy tears, too. Just the joy of rewatching. Thank you so much for calling, and we love your voice, especially here on the radio.
Yes. Thank you.
But, Callie, you were about to say?
What I was about to say is these little things that you learn when we were prepping for it. In my version in 1951, the narrator is a British actor named Peter Bull, and he ends up playing a little part at the end during the Ghosts of Christmas Yet to Come, where he says, well, if there's a lunch, I'll go. I must be fed.
Oh, he's the one who does that bit? That's a great bit.
I know.
I love
he's
that.
the character.
There's a luncheon.
I must be fed.
There's a luncheon.
Well, as we were preparing, we were also talking about the romance of this story.
Yes.
And Scrooge's romance. See, it's such a Shakespearean tale.
Yeah.
And sometimes it gets entirely left out, as in my version, it does. But it also allows us this backstory to understand more of how Scrooge becomes Scrooge.
I think it's really important.
I agree.
Because it takes, it really strikes at the heart of his vulnerability and how he really weeded it out of himself after that relationship goes away. And so when you see that, you really understand then how he got it. Because when she says, "You've left me a long time ago for a golden idol," and he doesn't want to hear that.
Well, I think you also, I mean, we obviously know the story now and that he will be redeemed. So if at the end Scrooge is going to be lovable, we have to believe that at some point he was lovable. And so in that regard, I feel like the romance is, but if you take the romance out, you see him being hurt as a kid. I mean, sometimes in lieu of the romance, they sort of build out his relationship with his sister,
which
Franny,
I think is really
important,
important,
which is also
and
important.
works very well.
And so you do see him as lovable in that. You see him as lovable as a brother, but I think it adds a dimension to see him as lovable, potentially lovable as a partner, so that when he does get redeemed, it is the redemption of a good man. Yeah, it is that person. You buy it. You believe it.
Yes.
Let's go to another quick call. We have Carol from Watertown. We'll get to the mic in a moment. Hi, Carol from Watertown. Thank you for calling.
Oh, thank you for taking my call, and happy holidays to everyone.
Same to you. What's your favorite version?
My favorite version is the George C. Scott version, followed closely by the Patrick Stewart version.
Oh, interesting.
Both, really capture the Victorian era and are, beautifully photographed, and the colors are very rich. But I love Christmas movies. I try to watch a number of them through the holidays, and I always tried to watch A Christmas Carol every year. And during the pandemic, I usually travel for Christmas, so I'm not home at Christmas. And of course, during the pandemic, I was home. And I happened to be newly retired that year, so I had two reasons for having extra time. And I watched a bunch of Christmas movies on TV, but I also set my DVR to record A Christmas Carol. And it ended up recording either 4 or 5 versions of it. I don't remember which one. So I saw the 30s version that you talked about, the 50s version that I had never seen before. I think they had the George C. Scott version, and then they had the one on FX that you talked about.
Yeah.
And I agree with you about the FX one. It was just altered the story. It was too dark.
Humbug, you might say.
I did watch
It was
the whole
humbug.
thing.
Yeah.
But I never want to see that one again. For the 30s and the 50s versions, I had a hard time seeing past the age of the film. Even though they're set in the Victorian era, they looked to me like a 30s film and a 50s film.
Yeah.
So,
you can kind of recognize the set
version,
pieces and the sound stage. Carol, we're just running out of time. We have one more person in the studio, but thank you so much for calling and working your way through all of those DVR recordings that were prepared for you. We have time for one quick last comment at our audience mic here at the Boston Public Library. Hi there. What's your favorite version?
Hi, Albert Finney, because we had to watch it in school.
Oh, all right.
That was a great day,
Yeah.
But full disclosure, never really a big fan of A Christmas Carol until now. I'm going to go home with a fresh perspective and watch it. Thank you.
Good.
Well, you can text us back about your favorite version. Well, thank you to everyone who came down here to the library today. Thank you to everyone who called in to talk about A Christmas Carol. We love doing these segments. Thank you so much. And thank you for joining us for another Wednesday watch party, because our next one is going to be again on January 28th. Mark the date. If you're paying attention, January 28th is just before the beginning of February, which means our next Wednesday watch party is around the 1993 classic Groundhog Day.
Hey, all right.
Well, speaking of tomorrow's show, Callie and Edgar will be back, but in our Brighton studio for our annual cocktail primer with cocktail guru Jonathan Pogash. Embrace Boston's Amari Paris Jeffries and Mary Grant, president of Mass Art, also join us. Thanks to Henry Santoro for today's Culture Cast. Today's engineer is Bill Piacitelli. The BPL technical and logistics crew, Maddie Geyer, Bill Francis, Sandra Lopez-Burke, Juan Jose Cadena, Chris Hanks, Pat Lally, and Olivia Corshio. And thanks, as always, to the Newsfeed Cafe. I'm Jared Bowen. Have a great day.
The Culture Show is made possible in part by a generous contribution from the Fiducia Fund, proud to support this station's art and culture programming.
GBH is the most important button on your radio, as is the Culture Show. Listeners are GBH's most important source of income, especially when given the loss of our federal funding, as you've heard about. Please make your year-end gift during this one-day December fund drive so that we can continue to keep you informed well into 2026. You can donate by clicking the donate button at gbhnews.org or simply call 888-897-9424. Good afternoon to you. I'm Henry Santoro, news anchor and host here at GBH, and I am joined by Kiki Loa.
Support GBH now, and we'll say thank you with a ticket to a virtual European wine tasting with expert traveler and author Rick Steves and a professional sommelier. This is a limited offer for today only. Your ticket will include 6 small bottles of wine. That's plenty for 2 people to share, shipped straight to your door. The tasting will be Thursday, February 26th, beginning at 8 p.m., online and from the comfort of your home. So don't miss this evening of discovery and delight, where you're sure to learn something new about the wonderful world of European wines and more about Rick and his adventures too. Again, sign up as a sustaining member at $12.50 a month or give $150 all at once. The deadline to secure your ticket is this evening at 7 p.m., but you're listening right now, so make your donation right now to support the Culture Show. gbhnews.org or by calling 888-897-9424.
4 minutes till the top of the hour. We're looking for 6 more contributions so that we can make this hour's goal. That's how we do it around here. When we ask for your contribution, we set these hourly goals, and once we hit them, we let you know. 6 more calls right now at 888-897-9424 or gbhnews.org.
Even in this age of social media where everyone with a phone is a publisher, news services such as GBH and NPR remain an essential voice of the public. The journalism we provide and the conversations we convene help represent the citizens of our towns, our state, and our country. That collective representation is at risk as the free press comes under attack. One of the best ways to fight back is by supporting GBH during this, our one-day membership drive. Your gift will help us to stay a strong and representative voice of Boston and beyond. Make your gift online at gbhnews.org. Click the donate button or give us a call. Tell us why you're donating. 888-897-9424.
I want to send some big GBH shout-outs to Michael in North Reading. He is a new member. Welcome to the family, Michael. Happy to have you on board. And Patricia in North Chelmsford, she says it's important for those who listen to support with our dollars, and I'm happy to do that. Well, Patricia, we're happy you're doing it as well. And you can join Michael and Patricia by calling 888-897-9424 or gbhnews.org.
And as we count down the last few minutes of this hour, we are also counting down our goal. We now just need 4 more people to go and give in the next 3 minutes. Please take a moment to reflect on how much you relied on GBH this past year, and then give as generously as you can. Your contribution right now will also help fund the fact-based news that you trust in the year ahead. All gifts are welcome. Again, 4 more people to show they're proud to support the Culture Show in the next now 2 minutes. 888-897-9424 or gbhnews.org.
Would you like to drink some wine spodioti with the great Rick Steves? Support GBH right now. We'll thank you with a ticket to a virtual European wine tasting. 6 bottles of wine. There are 4